Chapter 100. Inside the elegant courtyard. Bang 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 bang, a series of explosions sounded in the courtyard. The horrifying sound spread far and wide. The servants who were working outside the courtyard were all shocked. A servant who was carrying firewood scattered all the firewood on the ground and looked around in fear. However, nothing happened around him. Not only that, there was no movement in the courtyard. Not even a speck of dust was stirred up. A man wearing a jade crown, dressed in a green robe, held a sword in one hand. The sword tip was quietly defending against a fake mountain. The sword tip that was as bright as autumn water gently touched it and did not pierce into the fake mountain at all. But voila! With a gust of wind, the fake mountain immediately turned into powder and fell to the ground. The servants at the side were all stunned. Sword explosion technique. Suppressing the profound spirit chi inside the sword body, then pushing it out from the sword tip and into the target's body, exploding the profound spirit chi. This kind of explosion does not have any destructive power, but it has a shocking cutting power. Every explosion can cut 9,981 cut. TSK. The power is really shocking. A handsome man with a ponytail clapped his hands and praised with a face full of smiles. Su Dongfang, who was dressed in a green robe, put down the sword in his hand. Without changing his expression, he said, "Although the power of this sword explosion technique is shocking, it is not easy to hit the enemy. If you do not use it well, it will be useless. With Master Dongfang's strength, why do you need to stab people? Even if your sword tip is aimed at the enemy's weapon, it is enough to make the enemy suffer. I believe that in a few years, Master Dongfang will be able to enter the main house and become the successor of the great clan elder." The man with the long braid, Su Huangming, said, "My father's position as the great clan elder is held by the patriarch himself. He is not a direct descendant. I know what I am capable of." Su Dongfang kept his sword and waved his hand at the servants to let them clean up the place. Then, he walked to the pavilion and sat down, minding his own business, and poured himself a cup of tea. "Huang Ming, why are you here?" "Oh, it's not a big deal. It's just that yesterday I sent 3 people to the outer sect to announce the mission at Tai Ching Lakeside. My people were beaten up by the outer sect." Su Huangming walked over and poured himself a cup of tea, gulped it down and said. Su Dongfang did not mind and said blandly, "Outer sect? You've got guts. Do you know which gang it is?" "Gang?" Su Huangming shook his head. "It's not a gang, the opponent is just one person." "Alone?" Su Dongfang was stunned. The cup in his hand shook and the tea spilled out. An outer sect disciple beat up 3 inner sect disciples? This matter was truly shocking. "Yes. One person." Su Huangming squinted his eyes and laughed. "It's that Su Yun who killed Su Kuang." "Oh." Su Dongfang laughed. "It's this person again? I didn't expect that this time it would actually provoke our young master Huang Ming. He's really audacious. I wonder how Huang Ming plans to deal with him?" "Young Master Dongfang, it's not like you don't know how I do things. It's just that this time it's the Su family. I'm a little worried," Su Huangming said. Sigh. "Worried about what?" Su Dongfang put down the teacup and waved his hand. "Just do it. If anything happens, I will settle it for you." "What if I kill that brat?" Su Huangming asked with a sinister expression. When Su Dongfang heard this, he was silent for a moment. After a while, he chuckled. "I can settle it too. Seems like I didn't make this trip for nothing." Su Huangming stood up and turned to leave. Su Yun, you're too careless. You really dare to provoke anyone." Su Dongfang shook his head and glanced at the direction Su Huangming left. He stood up and walked into the building. 3 days later. Su Family Inner Sect Mission. Mission location. Located 1,300 miles from the shores of the South Sea, Tai Ching City, under the jurisdiction of Tai Ching Taoist Temple. There are 9 cities and 13 counties, all under the protection of Tai Ching Taoist Temple. Su Family Outer Sect Square. All the chosen disciples arrived. They gathered in groups of 2s and 3s, waiting for the inner sect disciples to arrive. Su Yun stood alone at the back of the crowd. Ever since he killed Su Kuang, he was completely isolated. Everyone knew that he had offended young Master Dongfang. They were afraid of being implicated, so they kept their distance. Even those who greeted Su Yun in the past did not dare to say a word to him. After an incense stick of time, there was a commotion in the crowd. A group of inner sect disciples, led by the inner sect deacon Su Shilong, headed towards the outer sect square. There were many people from the outer sect who surrounded the square to watch the commotion. The scene was huge and filled with people. Once Su Shilong arrived at the square, the crowd quietened down. The inner sect disciples dressed in bright clothes stood behind Su Shilong in a row. It was very impressive. Compared to the plain outer sect disciples, the two of them were people from two different worlds. Su Yun sized up these inner sect disciples. He did not find any traces of Su Xianyu and Su Xingyang. It seemed like they were on a mission. Those who had just entered the inner sect did not have an easy life. They did not have much time to cultivate. All of their time was occupied by the arduous inner sect missions. Only after a period of time would they be able to truly accept the inner sect's cultivation. Su Shilong's dignified gaze swept across the square. His gaze finally landed on Su Yun, who was standing behind the crowd. He snorted and spoke loudly. Today's mission, I believe you all know? Yes, it is to assist the various sects to annihilate the Heavenly Scale Fish King at the Tai Ching Lakeside. The Heavenly Scale Fish King is an exceptional demon at the Tai Ching Lakeside. Its cultivation is at least at the 8th stage of the Spirit Soul realm. It has been sleeping at the bottom of the lake for close to 100 years. Recently, it has started to stir up trouble again. Tai Ching Taoist Temple's temple master passed away 30 years ago. The current temple master's qualifications are still shallow. He is not enough to deal with the Fish King. Hence, he sent out a request for help and gathered the heroes of the world to help. The Fish King stirred up trouble and killed many people. Tai Ching Taoist Temple has 3 cities and 7 counties around it. Countless suffering commoners have lost their homes. This is an opportunity to fight for glory for our Su family. All of you have to work hard this time. Annihilate the Fish King and fight for glory for our Su family. Do you understand? Yes, Master. Everyone shouted loudly. But everyone knew that it was just for show. The Su family was just a family. Their aim was to prosper and live forever. Doing chivalry and helping the weak was the job of the sect. This time, the Su family was just trying to gain some fame. If not, they would not have sent so many outer sect disciples over. Spirit novice disciple against spirit soul disciple? That would be the biggest joke in the world. Su Shilong nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, he raised his hand and waved it gently. A man in a long braid robe walked forward. The man had a wheat-colored long face. His gaze was sharp. Between his eyebrows there was a baleful aura. He was like an arrow that was ready to be shot. Su Huang Ming! Su Shilong shouted. The man immediately cupped his fists and shouted, Master, Huang Ming is here. This time, you will lead the team. Remember, you must ensure the safety of the Su family disciples. Don't let the Su family down. Su Shilong shouted. The man immediately replied respectfully, Huang Ming will not disappoint Master Deacon. I will not disappoint the Su family. Very good. Once you have collected your supplies, you can leave. Su Shilong nodded his head and turned to leave. Respectfully sending off Master Deacon. Everyone shouted. After that, more than 10 outer sect disciples carried boxes filled with the supplies for this mission and walked over. Everyone was given one. Most of the boxes were healing medicines, chi-replenishing pills and low-level invisibility talismans. Although the price was not expensive, it was very practical. The people who received the supplies eagerly opened the boxes. The outer sect disciples gathered in twos and threes and curiously looked at the boxes. Only the inner sect disciples did not care. The things they used on a daily basis were much more advanced than this. Who else did not receive it? An outer sect disciple shouted. Me! Su Yun rushed towards him and called out. The man looked at Su Yun and walked over with a box of supplies. Su Yun extended his hand and was about to receive it. But at this time, a hand suddenly reached out from the side and took the box of supplies away. Su Yun was startled. He looked up and saw that the owner of this hand was the man with the long braid, Su Huangming. Ah, young Master Huangming! The man hurriedly called out. Su Huangming ignored him. His gaze was lazy and arrogant as he stared at Su Yun. The box of supplies in his hand kept shaking. Su Yun frowned and looked over. Su Huangming walked in front of Su Yun, and his gaze landed on him. Su Yun was taller, and Su Huangming was shorter by half a head. Adding on Su Yun's well-proportioned physique, he had the advantage in terms of aura. But Su Huangming had a group of inner sect disciples behind him. Almost all the inner sect disciples in this mission were his people. In terms of influence, Su Yun lost by 108,000 miles. You are Su Yun? Su Huangming asked. His face seemed to be smiling but his eyes squinted. What's the matter? Su Yun asked. Because you injured Su Xianzhen and the others 3 days ago. According to the rules, you are not allowed to have any supplies. Su Huangming said. Since when did the Su family have such a rule? Su Yun frowned and asked. There wasn't before, but now there is. Su Huangming threw the supplies behind him and said, and this rule was set by me. Why? Do you have any objections? While speaking, the remaining 12 inner sect disciples surrounded Su Yun. All of their faces were gloomy, and their fists were secretly clenched tightly. Looking for trouble? It seemed like it was not that simple. These people had a vicious look on their faces. If they were just looking for trouble to help Su Xianzhen vent his anger, they would not have to do this. Su Yun knew that Su Huangming did not have good intentions towards him. He secretly held back his vicious look and said indifferently, No. Very good. Su Huangming patted his shoulder and whispered, I hope you have a safe journey. With that, he patted Su Yun's shoulder again and left with a face full of smiles. Su Yun stared at Su Huangming's back as he left. His heart turned cold. Is Su Huangming really going to kill me for those few people? This person has a vicious look on his face. I'm afraid he is a person who will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. I don't care. No matter what the reason is, at least, I have to make the first move. Thinking about this, Su Yun's heart was filled with killing intent. He turned and left. Chapter 101. This time, he did not receive any supplies. Su Yun felt extremely unlucky. The last time he went to Marshall Bone Mountain, wasn't it the same? It seemed like he had offended quite a number of people in the Su family. Although he wasn't the one initiating it every time, sometimes when trouble came knocking on his head, he couldn't avoid it even if he wanted to. The team set off after an hour. There were a total of 65 people. Other than 13 inner sect disciples, the rest were outer sect disciples. Because of the disturbance with Su Huangming at the plaza, the outer sect disciples kept a respectful distance from Su Yun. No one dared to speak a word to him. Everyone could see that Su Huangming and Su Yun did not get along. Although Su Yun had accidentally killed Su Kuang, that did not mean anything. He could kill someone by himself, but he was just one person. Su Huangming had many inner sect experts by his side. How could he win? Furthermore, Su Huangming was not Su Kuang. He had been famous in the inner sect for a long time. He was also one of the top experts. Even if they were to fight one-on-one, he would not lose to Su Yun. Hence, Su Yun followed behind the group alone. A group of people rode on spirit stallions and left the Su family. The journey was dull and tedious. With the speed of the spirit stallion, It would take at least 15 days to reach Tai Ching Lakeside. However, after leaving the Su family for less than a day, Su Huangming had something to say. Everyone walked to a fork in the outskirts. Su Huangming pulled the spirit stallion beneath him, turned around and signaled for everyone to stop. Everyone pulled their spirit stallions in unison, and the clattering of the horses' hooves resounded in front of the fork. Su Yun raised his head and looked at the scene, his heart filled with doubt. Su Huangming pointed to the right side of the road and shouted loudly, "This mission concerns the prestige of my Su family. We must rush to Tai Ching Lakeside as soon as possible. We will go this way. This road will allow us to reach our destination as soon as possible." "This path?" A Su clan outer sect disciple stared blankly. "This road seems to be the road to the Jade Claws Forest. I heard that there are many Jade Claws wolves in the Jade Claws Forest. If we take this road, will we meet a wolf pack, young master?" "Ha ha ha ha, I heard that the last time the Jaded Claws wolf appeared was 3 years ago. How could we be so lucky as to run into these things? No fear, no fear. Go!" With that, Su Huangming did not care about the opinions of the crowd, and directly headed towards the right fork. Seeing that, Su Yun frowned. According to common sense, one would choose the road on the left when heading to the Tai Ching Lakeside. The road on the left was flat and led directly to the Tai Ching Lakeside. Although the right was a shortcut, the road was rugged and there were many ferocious beasts. Adding the time taken to deal with the ferocious beasts and the time taken to travel, the time taken to deal with the ferocious beasts might not be shorter than the time taken to travel on the left. Su Yun secretly reminded himself that something was amiss. Soon, the Su clan's troops entered the Jaded Claws Forest. This forest was different from an ordinary forest. Every tree in the forest was nearly 100 feet tall. Their branches and leaves were luxuriant, like pillars supporting the sky. It was very difficult for sunlight to penetrate the forest. Therefore, the people who were hurrying through the forest felt that the surroundings were very dim. If they didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see the road ahead. What is young Master Huangming trying to do? There's a good path out there, but you chose to go to this kind of place? Who knows? Be careful, don't bump into that Jade Claws wolf, otherwise we'll be finished. It's not that serious. There are so many inner sect disciples here, and with young Master Huangming leading the team, what are we afraid of? I heard that young Master Huangming is a 7th stage spirit intermediate disciple expert. His strength is well known in the inner sect. He definitely isn't afraid of that Jade Claws wolf, so he brought us here. 7th stage spirit intermediate disciple? Oh my god, he's actually that strong. A few outer sect disciples in front huddled together and discussed softly. They constantly exclaimed in surprise. Su Yun, who was riding on the spirit stallion with his eyes closed, his ears moved slightly and he slowly opened his eyes. 7th stage spirit intermediate disciple? That was considered an expert in the inner sect. He was not easy to deal with. Kacha kacha kacha. Just then, a low sound of horse hooves came from both sides. Su Yun looked up and saw a few inner sect disciples speeding up their horses. They ran to the front of Su Huangming. Su Huangming's face was stern as he whispered something to them. After that, the inner sect disciples all dispersed. Among them, there were some who secretly glanced at Su Yun. Although it was just a glance, it made Su Yun feel a sense of danger. Could it be that Su Huangming wanted to make a move on him? Impossible. In front of so many people, if he acted recklessly, he would be inviting trouble for himself. He needed to find a reason. Awoo! Right at this moment, waves of melodious wolf howls resounded in the forest, one after another, causing people to panic. Jade Claws wolf! Some outer sect disciples exclaimed. They were actually so unlucky to meet a hungry wolf. Everyone was trembling in fear. They quickly gathered their spirit stallions together and carefully observed their surroundings. Su Yun saw this and immediately shouted, "Everyone don't be afraid. I remember there's a way out in front. I'll go ahead and check it out. As soon as he finished speaking, he spurred his horse and galloped forward. Su Yun, come back quickly. Without young Master Huang Ming's orders, you are not allowed to act on your own. An inner sect disciple at the side hurriedly shouted. But it was too late. Su Yun was like a wild horse that had escaped its reins. He rushed into the forest and quickly disappeared. Did he notice? Su Huang Ming was slightly startled. He squinted his eyes and waved his hand. He's alone. He'll be fine. You guys go straight ahead. Once you get close to him, make a move. Don't let anyone find out. Yes. The two inner sect disciples at the side bellowed. They increased their speed and chased after Su Yun. Tick-tock tock-tock. The heavy sound of horse hooves echoed in the forest. It was extremely ear-piercing. Once he entered the forest, Su Yun immediately jumped off his horse and rushed towards a big tree at the side. He hid behind a big tree. The two inner sect disciples who were chasing after him saw that they had lost sight of Su Yun's target. They immediately slowed down. The surroundings were extremely gloomy. The tall trees covered the sunlight. It was extremely cold. Where did this guy run off to? Did he find out about young Master Huang Ming's plan? Should we lure the Jade Claw's wolf over and kill him in the chaos? I don't think so. But it doesn't matter. Even if he found out, he would still die. He can either return to the team now, or young Master Huang Ming will use the crime of betraying the Su family to kill him. No matter what, he will still die. The two inner sect disciples said sinisterly. As expected, they had the intention to kill. Su Yun, who was hiding in the dark of the big tree, tensed up. Look, that spirit stallion. It must be Su Yun's. At this time, one of them exclaimed. They had already discovered the spirit stallion that Su Yun had thrown to the side of the road. The two of them immediately flew over. One of them took out a green lotus-like treasure and channeled profound spirit chi into it. Instantly, with the spirit stallion as the center, there was a burst of fine chi. This chi was extremely thin. If not for the treasure, ordinary people would not be able to sense it. And the end of this chi was where Su Yun was. It was a tracking-type treasure. Su Yun's face congealed. He scanned his surroundings. Seeing that no one else was following him, he took out the sword sheath and death sword from his storage ring. He carried them on his back and immediately stepped out of the forest. The spirit stallion had his own chi. This treasure should be able to use the chi emitted by the spirit stallion to capture him nearby. There was no point in continuing to hide. But at this moment there was no need to hide anymore. Zhen He, the disciple who was still activating the green lotus treasure, shouted to the person beside him. His eyes moved as he looked at Su Yun, who was walking over. The two of them turned their gazes over at the same time. Seeing that Su Yun actually walked out so boldly, the two of them were startled. They looked at each other, quietly took out their respective weapons, and rode their horses towards Su Yun. What are the two elder brothers looking for? Su Yun said blandly as he took out the 1,000-deep sword from the sword sheath. His actions were very bold, without any intention of hiding. Seeing that this person's expression was solemn and serious, but he did not panic. Facing two inner sect disciples, he was not afraid at all. Su Zhen He and the other disciple were startled. Especially when Su Yun took out his sword, the two of them were stunned. What was going on? Could it be that he was not afraid of us? Su Zhen He's heart congealed. Su Yun, what are you doing here? Why aren't you coming back? Su Yi, who was at the side, shouted. The two of them, one on the left and one on the right, cautiously approached Su Yun, their killing intent gradually revealed. Then, just as they were about to get close, Su Yun suddenly tapped his feet lightly and jumped backwards. The long sword in his hand suddenly swung out, directly towards Su Yi. Su Yi was shocked and immediately used his sword to block. But, just as the lustrous and slender sword was about to reach Su Yi, it suddenly changed direction, and the sword tip pierced towards Su Zhen He's heart. Su Zhen He's reaction was not slow. With an angry roar, he pulled out the long sword from his waist and slashed towards the incoming thousand-deep sword. But, just as his sword edge was about to reach the thousand-deep sword, the pure divine spirit chi on the surface of the thousand-deep sword suddenly shook, and immediately separated from the thousand-deep sword, forming an independent chi sword. Clang! The thousand-deep sword was sent flying by the sword. The chi sword did not wait for Su Zhenhe's reaction, and directly pierced through his chest. Although it deviated from the position of his heart, it still pierced him to the ground, causing him to spit out blood. He was already seriously injured. What? Su Ye's eyes widened. Looking at Su Zhenhe, who was lying on the ground, his expression changed. What kind of strange mystical technique is this? Su Yun took a step forward again, and rushed towards Su Yi. His speed was extremely fast, and he leapt into the air, jumping towards Su Yi. The sword that was sent flying by Su Zhen, he spun a few rounds in the air, and flew back towards Su Yun, directly landing in his hands. Following Su Yun's movements, it fiercely slashed towards Su Yi. Clang! Su Yi raised his own weapon, the red leaf flaming spear, and blocked the sword that was slashing towards him. His strength was extremely strong, and his profound spirit chi leaned towards true divine spirit chi, so he was not afraid of Su Yun's slash. This sword, he clenched his teeth and forcefully received it. But Su Yun's attack did not seem to be over. He stepped on the spirit stallion's head, and using it as a fulcrum, the thousand-deep sword in his hand fell once again. The thousand-deep sword's edge burst forth with a purple chi, and with the power of a tiger, it fell. Bang! A violent sound exploded from the red leaf flaming spear. The spear body blocked the sword, but Su Yi only felt his arms trembling crazily, and his whole body trembling violently. This sword was at least a few times stronger than the previous sword. The spirit stallion neighed, its 4 hooves swaying, and dust flew everywhere, as though it could not withstand the power. Seeing this, Su Yun kicked the spirit stallion's head. The spirit stallion took the attack, and immediately became agitated, swaying non-stop. Su Yun took the opportunity to land, but Su Yi, who was riding on it, could not. At this moment, his arms were numb, and he could not pull the reins to control the agitated spirit stallion. At this time, the spirit stallion lifted its front hooves, and its entire body lifted up. Ai! Su Yi could not control himself, and with a scream, he fell from the back of the stallion. Just as he was about to fall, a beam of cold light shot towards him. Su Yi was shocked, and subconsciously raised his spear. But it was too late. The thick and strong sword's edge, with an unparalleled force, started from his head, and in an instant, he was sliced into 2. Even the ground beneath him had a deep dent, and Su Ye's blood flowed into the dent. Thousand-deep sword, third sword. Su Zhenhe, who was clutching his chest, was completely stunned. Chapter 102. Gotcha. The man pulled his sword out from the corpse in front of him, and looked at Su Zhenhe. Su Yun. You dare to kill an inner sect disciple. You don't want to live anymore? Su Zhenhe's entire body was trembling. Enduring the pain, he quickly retreated. He could not stand up, so he used his limbs to crawl backwards, trying to distance himself from the man. But he was thinking too much. Did Su Huangming ask you guys to come and kill me? Su Yun walked towards Su Zhenhe and asked. Yes. No, that's not right. Young Master Huangming did not plan to kill you. We are only here to persuade you to return to the team. Su Zhenhe panicked and shouted. Fresh blood splattered all over the ground. I will return to the team soon. Su Yun's lips curled up, his eyes filled with a cold intent. He held his sword and slashed towards Su Zhenhe. Ah! A miserable scream echoed. Far away in the jaded claws forest. Huh! Su Huangming, who was slowly advancing, seemed to have heard something. He quickly raised his hand and stopped the advancing team. Young master, what's that sound? Someone beside him asked. Not sure, but it's a human's voice. The Jaded Claws Forest is such a desolate place that very few people enter. I'm afraid it's our people. Our people? The surrounding people jumped in fright. Could it be that they met a Jaded Claws wolf? Someone asked carefully. Jaded Claws wolf? Su Huangming snorted. I only sent the inner sect disciples to search the surroundings. If they met a Jaded Claws wolf, how could they not win? Even if they could not win, could they not escape? I'm afraid they were harmed by someone. Harmed by someone? With these words, everyone understood who Su Huangming was referring to. Other than Su Yun, who left without permission, no one could explain this. But did Su Yun have the guts? Even if he did he have the ability? After all, these were two inner sect disciples. Listen up. Su Huangming called for the remaining 8 inner sect disciples and said indifferently, Su Yun probably already knows our intentions. When he comes, immediately make a move. I will bear all the consequences. Yes, young master. Everyone exclaimed. Su Huangming squinted his eyes, his expression sinister. Su Yun, right? Heh, I want to see how capable you are. Then, young master, should we continue forward or wait here? Someone asked. Keep going. Su Huangming waved his hand and bellowed. If after we leave the Jaded Claws Forest, Su Yun has yet to return to the team, we will treat it as him evading the mission and violating the rules of the Su family. He will be treated as a traitor of the Su family and will be killed without mercy. Do you understand? Su family's traitor? Isn't that a little too much? Some of the outer sect disciples felt that it was a bit serious. I will bear the consequences, Su Huangming said indifferently. With that, everyone knew what Su Huangming was thinking, and no one dared to say anything else. No one dared to refute Su Huangming's decision. The group continued to advance, and on a branch that was more than 100 feet high, a person wearing a pitch-black Blade Master outfit and a broken mask was quietly staring at the team below. Su Huangming has the cultivation of a 7th stage Spirit Intermediate disciple. I am currently only a 6th stage Spirit Intermediate disciple. Relying on the limitless sword arts, I might be able to fight. Furthermore, I have more spirit essences and earth spirit essences. My profound spirit chi can keep up, so winning against him is not difficult. It's just that there are so many inner sect disciples around him, which is a problem. Su Yun pondered. He stepped on the branch and followed the team. Awoo! Just then, the melodious wolf howl sounded out again. The team below were startled and became cautious. Su Yun was also stunned. Jaded Claws Wolf? If he could lure the Jaded Claws Wolf to attack the team, he could take advantage of the chaos to gain an opportunity. Su Yun lowered his head and pondered. After a while, he jumped down from the branch and ran towards the direction of the sound. Jaded Claws Wolf was a 1st stage Spirit Intermediate disciple. There were also 2nd stage Spirit Intermediate disciples, but their numbers were few. They lived in packs with at least 30 of them in a pack. The Jaded Claws Wolf was only active in the depths of the Jaded Claws Forest. If one were to walk on the main roads of the Jaded Claws Forest, it would be hard to meet any hungry wolves. But if one met a hungry wolf, it would attract a tide of wolves to attack. And how to lure the wolves? That was the problem. Since they were hungry wolves, they would naturally be hungry and thirsty. A portion of food would be enough to lure them over. Su Yun suddenly thought of something. He turned around and ran towards Su Zhenhe and Su Yi, who were dead. As he neared the 2 corpses, he saw 2 spirit stallions running towards him in a panic. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately took out his 1,000-deep sword and killed them. The spirit stallions died and fresh blood flowed all over the ground. But Su Yun did not care. He slowed down his speed and carefully approached the 2 corpses. The spirit stallions were scared away, which meant that there was something near the corpses. After the corpses died, the fresh blood would be easily captured by the hungry wolves. If he was not wrong, the two corpses were surrounded by hungry wolves. Su Yun leaped up and jumped onto another tree. From the treetop, he carefully approached the two corpses. After a while, the scene completely shocked him. He could only see that the ground was covered in blood. One after another, skinny wolves with bloodshot eyes were fighting over the two corpses. Those were the corpses of Su Zhenhe and Su Yi. But at this moment they were completely torn into pieces. There were more than 30 jaded claws wolves fighting over the corpses. The scene made one's scalp go numb. How could such a small amount of meat fill so many stomachs? Su Yun congealed his heart and stared at one of the jaded claws wolves that had snatched the corpse and was gorging on it. Suddenly, he jumped down from the tree and kicked it. The jaded claws wolf was only a first-stage spirit intermediate disciple. As a sixth-stage spirit intermediate disciple, regardless of profound spirit chi or mystical techniques, just based on strength and agility, he was much higher than the jaded claws wolf. Adding on the fact that Su Yun had suddenly launched a sneak attack, the usually vigilant jaded claws wolf had lost its rationality under the temptation of food. It did not notice the existence that had suddenly fallen from the sky and was directly kicked away. Su Yun grabbed onto the unknown human part and immediately turned to run. Having its food stolen, the jaded claws wolf was naturally furious. But when it saw that it was new food, its eyes immediately turned from red to green. "Awoo!" A mournful wolf howl resounded. Following that, the pack of wolves rushed over and chased after Su Yun. Su Yun sprinted. When he passed by the two spirit stallion corpses, he pierced through the main arteries of the spirit stallions. Fresh blood spurted out and dyed his body red. Then, he picked up the heads of the two spirit stallions and stabbed it into his sword. Stepping on the branches, he rushed towards Su Huangming. When the jaded claws wolves saw the two huge spirit stallion corpses, they went crazy and devoured them. But wolves were greedy creatures, especially hungry wolves. Although the two spirit stallion corpses were huge, they were unable to satisfy so many hungry wolves. The hunger was unbearable, but the strong appetite that was aroused by the food made it even more unbearable. One by one, they rushed towards Su Yun like crazy. Along the way, the smell of blood attracted many hungry wolves. In a short period of time, there were close to 100 hungry wolves following closely behind. Soon, Su Yun took a deep breath. His body was like an ape as he jumped on the branches. Very quickly, the sound of spirit stallions galloping could be heard from afar. Sparse chatter could be heard. Near. Su Yun held the 1,000-deep sword tightly. Pure divine spirit chi revolved around his body. He bent his body slightly and jumped on the branches. Whoosh! He rushed out of the dense branches and crashed into the main road in front of him. Voila! The trees moved. The people who were rushing turned to look at the source of the sound. Who is it? Seeing a person dressed in a black blade master robe and wearing a broken mask, the inner sect disciples were shocked. One by one, they took out their weapons and stared at the person with extreme caution. But they saw the person rushing to the main road entrance. The two spirit stallion heads that were stabbed into the sword were thrown into the crowd. Plop, 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 plop. The spirit stallions crashed into the crowd and rolled a few rounds on the ground. Blood splattered all over the ground. Everyone hurriedly retreated. They were afraid that the filthy thing would touch them and cause a disturbance in the crowd. Who are you? Seeing the black blade master robe and wearing a broken mask, everyone was suspicious. An inner sect disciple shouted. For such a person to appear out of nowhere and make such a strange move, how could anyone not be suspicious? Su Huangming was already on guard. Could he be Su Yun? But that person did not have any intention to stay. He threw down the two spirit stallion heads and immediately leapt backward. He jumped onto a branch and turned to escape. Stop! Someone shouted, but the person did not stop. Huh! Su Huangming was startled. Before he could react, he heard a rustling sound coming from the forest. It was getting louder and louder. Everyone, don't panic. It's just 2 spirit stallion heads. An inner sect disciple shouted and stabilized the crowd. The chaotic crowd calmed down. But those who were close to the spirit stallion heads were still filled with disgust. Everyone calmed down. Su Huangming calmed his heart. His face darkened as he looked around vigilantly. Hearing that, everyone stopped making noise. They felt something was wrong and pulled out their weapons. The rustling sound attracted Su Huangming's attention. His expression revealed a trace of realization. He squinted his eyes and laughed. Oh, so that's why. What's wrong, young Master Huangming? The inner sect disciple beside him saw and asked curiously. It's just a small trick. Su Huangming laughed indifferently. Then, he waved his hand and shouted, Everyone gather in a group. Prepare for battle. Battle? Everyone was startled. But they did not dare to hesitate. They quickly gathered together and activated their profound spirit chi. They looked like they were ready for battle. Just then, a large number of figures rushed out from the forest. The Su family saw them and were horrified. They were the Jaded Claws wolves. Oh my God! It's a wolf pack! Someone exclaimed. His whole body was already trembling. Su Huangming shouted, Don't be afraid. They are just a first-stage spirit intermediate disciple. Kill! With that, he rode on the spirit stallion. He took the lead and rushed forward. He took out a shiny long blade from his storage ring and slashed at the head of the wolf that was at the front. Poochie! The hungry wolf died. The battle between the Su family and the Jaded Claws wolves broke out. Su Yun, who was watching from a branch far away, took a deep breath. He extended his hand and touched the pitch-black sword behind him. Chapter 103. As the wolf pack rushed over, the outer sect disciples of the Su family were terrified. But the inner sect disciples were brave. Facing the hundreds of wolves, they were not afraid at all. One by one, they rushed to the front and killed the wolves like they were chopping vegetables. Although the wolf pack had the advantage in numbers, but in terms of strength, they could not compare to the Su family. Many of the outer sect disciples of the Su family did not even have the cultivation of a first-stage spirit intermediate disciple, but they had a large amount of pills and treasures to use. Furthermore, they knew how to set up a formation and knew when to advance and retreat. This was not something that the wolves could compare to. Especially Su Huangming, his aura was like a rainbow. Slaughtering the wolves was as easy as slaughtering pigs and sheep. Everyone was dumbstruck and the morale of the team was boosted. Wolf blood flowed all over the ground, and the corpses of the wolves were everywhere. Awoo! The head of the Jaded Claws wolf saw that it was no match, and let out an even more melodious and sonorous howl. Calling for reinforcements, everyone was shocked. Seems like I have to clean up all the bastards in the Jaded Claws forest today. Su Huangming killed even more happily. The ruthlessness in his eyes grew stronger. He had no intention of leaving the place. Voila! At this time, a figure rushed out from the side of the forest. Everyone was shocked. They looked up and saw Su Yun, who had left the team without permission. Wasn't this guy supposed to scout ahead? Why did he come back? Su Yun, come and help. A few outer sect disciples who could not withstand the attacks of the wolves shouted anxiously. Su Yun's cultivation was high, and he had killed the inner sect disciple, Su Kuang. If he were to help, the Su family would not be afraid of these wolves. Everyone hold on! Su Yun shouted and then joined the situation. Young master, it's Su Yun. He's back. Seeing Su Yun suddenly appear and join the battle, an inner sect disciple immediately approached Su Huangming, who was happily killing, and shouted. Oh! Su Huangming chopped down a hungry wolf. His red eyes turned to look at Su Yun and squinted. The original plan was to enter the Jaded Claws forest to lure the wolves to cause chaos, and then kill Su Yun in the chaos. But in the middle of it, Su Yun ran away. I thought he realized our intentions, but I did not expect him to come back. Seems like he has not realized his situation. Su Huangming licked his cracked lips and retreated from the front line. Young master, shall we go together? No need. Su Zhenhe and Su Yi have not returned. There are too many wolves this time. You guys stay here and clear the wolves. As for Su Yun, I alone am enough. Once Su Yun dies, we can report to the Su family that he died in the mouth of a wolf. At that time, even if someone investigates, it will be useless. Be that as it may, young master, you must be careful. Su Yun is not an idiot. If he senses it and comes back, I'm afraid he is prepared. I've filtered it. Even if I'm prepared, I'm not afraid, Su Huangming said. This was not arrogance, but confidence. If he didn't even have confidence, how would he dare to take the lives of others? Leave this place to us. Young master, be careful, the inner sect disciple said. Su Huangming did not say anything, and directly walked towards Su Yun. Gotcha! A hungry wolf was chopped down. Su Yun took a deep breath and wiped the sweat off his face. He retreated to the back and ate a pill. After resting for a while, he let the other outer sect disciples take over. Su Yun, come with me and support us. Just then, a shout came from the back. Su Yun was taken aback. He turned to look and saw Su Huangming holding a blood-stained long blade standing behind him. Where to support? Su Yun asked. Su Huangming pointed to the side of the forest. Are there hungry wolves there? Su Yun did not understand. Just now, the wolf howled and asked for help. I believe there will be jaded claws wolves rushing over very soon, Su Huangming said. Is that so? But with just the two of us, can we defend? Su Huangming's expression turned cold. His eyes flashed with a trace of pride. He squinted his eyes and laughed. The two of us are enough. Su Zhenhe and Su Yi have not returned yet. We do not have enough manpower. We need more people to clear this place quickly. We just need to delay the hungry wolves that are coming to support us. Once the people here are done with the hungry wolves, they will immediately come to support us. We don't have much time. Are you going or not? With that, he took a few steps forward. The blood-stained blade was gripped tightly by him. It seemed that if he did not go, he would do something shocking. Su Yun's eyes flashed. He hesitated for a moment and nodded. If that's the case, then all right, let's go. Very good. The evil intent in Su Huangming's eyes became denser. His face became even more sinister. He squinted his eyes and took the lead. His pace was slightly faster. Su Yun's pace was slightly slower. He followed closely. Let's continue. There aren't many of them left. An inner sect disciple looked at the direction Su Huangming left in and shouted to the crowd. Everyone killed even more ferociously. In the depths of the forest, Su Yun looked around. Carrying the 1,000-deep sword, he carefully walked in. The forest was extremely quiet. There was no sound in the surroundings. Not even the sound of the wind could be heard. It was strangely quiet. Even the sound of breathing could be heard. This place should be quite a distance away from the Su family and the jaded claws wolves. Let's do it here. Su Yun, who was walking in front, suddenly turned around and looked at Su Huangming, who was following behind. Oh! Su Huangming raised his head. Looking at him, he revealed a look of surprise. What do you mean here? Settle it here. Su Yun laughed. Didn't you want to kill me? Didn't you call me here just to kill me? Killing me in front of everyone is not a good thing, isn't it? Seems like you've sensed everything. Su Huangming held his forehead. Shaking his head, he laughed bitterly. I actually thought you didn't sense anything. What a blunder. Hey, you're really good at acting. Just SOSO. Since you know I want to kill you, you still dare to follow me here. Su Huangming's eyes were still filled with laziness and viciousness. His tone was calm and unhurried. If I didn't come, you're not allowed to kill me on the spot, Su Yun said. Su Huangming was a little surprised. Su Yun could even see this? Entering the Jaded Claws forest, your goal is to kill me, right? Su Yun said, luring the wolves over, creating chaos, then killing me in the chaos. When the time comes, reporting to the Su family that I died in the wolves' mouths, pushing the blame away. That's perfect, isn't it? That's right. Su Huangming did not hide anything. He confidently admitted, since you've seen through my intentions, why do you still dare to show yourself? Why aren't you escaping? Escape? Why should I escape? Su Yun shook his head. I didn't say I'm afraid of you. Ha 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 ha, arrogant. Although you're concealing your strength, I can tell that you're at least a 4th stage spirit intermediate disciple. But you're definitely not a 7th stage spirit intermediate disciple. If you're not a 7th stage spirit intermediate disciple, I'll treat you as a 6th stage spirit intermediate disciple. In my eyes, you're nothing more than withered grass in the wind. You're not afraid of me? Very soon, I'll make you afraid of me. Su Huangming squinted his eyes and revealed a playful smile. Hearing that, Su Yun was silent for a moment. Then, he suddenly said, Su Zhenhe and Su Yi are dead. Su Huangming was stunned. Oh! I killed them. Su Yun said again. So what? I lured the wolves over. You've said it before. Didn't you realize? Their numbers are twice that of the Su family. What can this prove? Su Huangming's eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness. His heart was filled with an indescribable uneasiness. Su Yun reached his hand out from his storage ring and took out a pitch-black sword. The sword was sheathed. The sword hilt and the body of the sheath were covered with strange patterns. It looked terrifying. Waves of evil qi rippled out from the sword. Su Huangming's hand that was holding onto the sword tightened. If you were to create chaos, you would at most attract a dozen Jaded Claws hungry wolves. The outer sect disciples of the Su family have never seen a Jaded Claws hungry wolf before. Most of them are below the 1st stage of the spirit intermediate disciple realm. Most of the information about the Jaded Claws hungry wolves came from rumors. Their hearts were already fearful of them. If you attracted a dozen wolves, it would be enough to cause chaos in the entire group. Moreover, it would be easy to control. That way you can kill me with sufficient manpower. But now I have attracted 100 wolves. That means that the Su family has joined in the battle. The inner sect disciples cannot just stand by and watch. They are short on manpower. Adding on to the fact that I killed Su Zhenhe and Su Yi, the inner sect disciples have lost 2 experts. As such, it is impossible for the inner sect disciples to coordinate with you to attack me and kill me. Su Yun said blandly. Su Huangming's face darkened. What does this mean? This means that you can only kill me alone. Su Yun's eyes congealed. A trace of cold qi rippled between his eyebrows. You think I can't kill you? Su Huangming already understood Su Yun's intention. He did all of this just to allow Su Huangming to kill him alone. That way, he would have a chance. Counterattack. I don't know. Su Yun shook his head. Carrying the pitch-black sword, he walked towards Su Huangming step by step. I only know. In a while, I will announce to the Su family. Our leader, Su Huangming, has already died in the mouth of the Jaded Claws hungry wolves. With that last word, Su Yun's qi suddenly changed. His entire person was like an explosion of fireworks. The death sword was not out of its sheath, but he waved his arms and leaped forward. Sword in sheath, he slashed towards Su Huangming. Such arrogance! I want you to die. Seeing that the sword was not out of its sheath, Su Huangming was enraged. His long sword exploded with waves of deep blue qi and clashed with the black sword. Dong! One sword and one blade clashed. Both of them retreated 10 steps. Su Huangming's face flashed a trace of surprise. He never thought that a small outer sect disciple would have such a high cultivation level. Wasn't he the trash that was chased out of the inner sect? Wasn't he the 18-year-old trash that had not even entered the 7th stage of the spirit novice realm? Why was his cultivation level so high now? Su Huangming did not know and did not want to know. He only had one thought in his mind, which was to chop this arrogant bastard into pieces. He roared and activated his mystical technique. The long sword in his hand suddenly burst forth with a large amount of profound spirit qi and wrapped around the blade. The blade of the long sword suddenly expanded by a few times. Following that, Su Huangming swung his arm and the huge blade swept across. A few trees were directly cut in half, and with a force that could cut through gold and stone, it slashed towards Su Yun's waist. When the long sword arrived, the black sword moved and blocked the edge of the blade. Su Huangming's eyes flashed with a fierce look. The corner of his mouth revealed a sinister look. Suddenly, both of his arms swelled up a few times. Following that, the swollen area suddenly retreated. A large amount of ferocious profound spirit qi struck the edge of the long sword. The edge of the blade was as though it was brand new. Suddenly, it released a sharp aura. The sharp aura seemed to be able to cut through the void. But, dong, the edge of the blade collided with the body of the sword. It was not like what Su Huangming had imagined. The sword was destroyed and the person died. Instead, it produced a loud sound. He blocked it? Su Huangming's expression froze. He muttered, "This is impossible." Chapter 104. Divine Star Slash. This was Su Huangming's signature technique. It was a middle-grade mystical technique passed down by his father. Forcefully compressing the qi on the blade edge, forming a thin qi blade. Then, he pushed the blade edge to attack. The qi blade was not a random attack, but aimed at the opponent's density. It could be said that this technique was incomparably sharp. Cutting through gold and stone was like cutting through paper. But, however, Su Yun blocked it. Without a doubt, this sword was definitely not an ordinary item. Su Huangming thought to himself, where did Su Yun get such a treasured sword from? With such high hardness, it had to be at least a purple rank or above. Just as Su Huangming was feeling suspicious, he saw the man's palm suddenly move. His left hand touched the sword sheath on his back. Suddenly, he pulled out a green sword and attacked Su Huangming's head. Dual swords. Su Huangming quickly retreated. Both his legs moved quickly. With every step, the ground cracked a little. Avoiding the attack range of the sword, Su Huangming raised his blade again and slashed in the air. Boom! A crescent-shaped qi blade burst out from the edge of the saber. Spirit qi was released. To an expert like Su Huangming, this was already a simple mystical technique. It was not considered brilliant. But, when the qi blade flew over, Su Huangming did not stop. He took a step forward and followed the qi blade. The blade edge emitted bursts of red light. With every step he took, the ground would shake. With every step he took, the shaking became more and more intense. It was as though while he was running, the true divine spirit qi in his body started to become restless and revolve. When he got close to Su Yun, Su Huangming's strength had already reached a stage that made people speechless. He raised his blade up high and stared passionately at Su Yun, who was about to block the qi blade. His eyes revealed a tinge of madness. Compared to Su Huangming, Su Kuang, Su Nanyi and the rest were nothing. Regardless of aura, mystical techniques, or ruthlessness, the two of them could not be compared to Su Huangming. This was the true expert of the Su family. Pooh! The qi blade was shattered by Su Yun's sword. Good chance. Su Huangming grabbed this opportunity. His eyes turned orange. With a roar, the red blade directly slashed towards Su Yun's head. It was as though he could split a mountain, as though he could split the earth. Su Yun raised his head, looked at the descending blade, but did not dodge. Feeling the vigorous energy bursting forth from the saber, his expression suddenly turned ferocious. He crossed his swords and directly faced the saber. One green and one black slanted. Dong! The edge of the blade fell on the point where the two swords intersected, and a vigorous and astonishing force exploded. With the two of them as the center, the aura spread out in all directions, and the ground instantly sank by an inch, forming a spider web of cracks. Sand and stones flew in all directions, and the trees trembled violently. The ones that were close to them were directly snapped. Both of Su Yun's feet sank into the ground. His entire body's qi and blood surged. The muscles on both his arms swelled and his veins popped out. Although it was very strenuous for him. But he held on. This is impossible. Su Huangming was stunned. His full force attack was actually blocked by this person. Isn't his cultivation lower than mine? Why was he able to block his attack head-on? This was impossible. This was absolutely impossible. Su Huangming's mind was in a mess, as he pressed down on his arms like a madman. The quality of these two swords was actually not bad. That sharp saber with boundless force, not to mention crushing it, even crushing it would be incomparably difficult. The two of them fell into a stalemate. Just then, Su Yun suddenly pulled out the green sword and flung it in the air. Following that, he held onto the black sword with both hands and blocked Su Huangming's big saber. Without waiting for Su Huangming to think, he saw the green sword that was flung out turn in the air and actually flew up. After it spun a few rounds, the surface of the sword was covered with a layer of extremely sharp qi. Following that, it shot towards Su Huangming's back like a rocket. What? Su Huangming turned pale with fright. He hurriedly retracted his strength to dodge. Once he retreated, he lost all his attack. It was difficult for him to quickly switch to defense. Thus, Su Yun gained the upper hand. The black sword in the scabbard fiercely pierced towards his chest. Although there was a scabbard, even the scabbard was covered with pure divine spirit qi. Su Huangming's chest was pierced with a bloody hole. The green sword missed, but it did not stop. It turned around again and attacked Su Huangming. Su Yun held onto the black sword tightly and pressed forward, not giving Su Huangming a chance to catch his breath. Su Huangming hurriedly retreated. His eyes occasionally stared at the green sword flying in the air. Then, he turned to stare at Su Yun, who was holding onto the black sword. His mind was in a mess. A rumor flashed past his mind. This flying sword can actually kill the enemy. You are Limitless Sword Lord? Su Huangming said in fear. His pupils constricted. Su Yun did not say a word. His body exploded. Once again, he rushed forward. The green sword that was spinning in the air also revolved around his back. One from the front and one from the back they attacked. Controlling the sword to kill the enemy was a divine technique. The only people who could control the divine sword were the people from the Immortal Sword sect. But the majority of the people from the Immortal Sword sect could not control the sword to kill the enemy. How could Su Yun do it? The black sword, the sword sheath, controlling the sword to attack the enemy. Didn't all of these fit the current Limitless Sword Lord? And just now when he was luring the wolf pack, wasn't the person wearing the black blade master clothes and the broken mask the Limitless Sword Lord was wearing? It's him. It must be him. Su Huangming was sure that he understood all of this. He never thought that the trash who was banished to the outer sect would be so powerful. Thinking about how the Limitless Sword Lord killed the Blood Soul Demon in the Purple Star Academy, Su Huangming's entire body trembled uncontrollably. His fighting spirit dropped by 30%. What kind of person was the Blood Soul Demon? Killing him was as easy as killing an ant. But he died in the hands of the Limitless Sword Lord. It was obvious that the Limitless Sword Lord was much stronger than the Blood Soul Demon. Su Yun actually had such power. Was he Su Yun or was he the Limitless Sword Lord? Su Huangming was completely dumbfounded. Seeing that his enemy was in a mess, Su Yun did not dare to stop. He held the death sword in one hand and used the sword sheath as the blade to pierce forward. The thousand-deep sword also responded without any mercy. Su Huangming, who had lost his will to fight, did not dare to continue fighting with Su Yun. His immense strength, strange techniques, and thick profound spirit qi were enough to prove how strong he was. Maybe the weak qi he felt was fake. His strength must be very strong. Spirit core disciple? Spirit soul disciple? Su Huangming did not dare to imagine. He hurriedly dodged, but it was too late. He dodged the attack from the green sword behind him, but his abdomen was hit by the black sword. His skin and flesh were torn, and a bloody hole appeared. He was in so much pain that his entire body was twitching, but he did not care about the pain. He turned and ran. Seeing that, Su Yun threw out the death sword again. Together with the Thousand Deep Sword, he released his pure divine spirit qi and controlled the two swords to attack Su Huangming. Su Huangming had suffered losses consecutively. In addition, his state of mind was in a mess. He was afraid of Su Yun. How could he still fight? He could only retreat frantically and run towards the direction of the Su family. At this moment, only by escaping would he have a chance of survival. In terms of speed, how could he compare to the swords that were flying in the air? The two swords flew out at an unbelievably fast speed. Very quickly, they neared Su Huangming and pierced towards him. Su Huangming felt a cold sword intent coming from behind him. He hurriedly turned and slashed. The heavy black sword was knocked away. But the Thousand Deep Sword took the opportunity to pierce forward and cut him to the ground. Su Huangming rolled a few rounds on the ground. A bloody hole appeared on his body and fresh blood flowed out. He crawled up with difficulty. His face was extremely pale. His eyes were filled with fear. The calmness from before was nowhere to be seen. He wanted to pick up the blazing long sword, but he was stepped on by a foot. He raised his head and saw Su Yun standing quietly in front of him. The two swords revolved around his body. Su Huangming bit his lower lip. He did not know what to say. "Why do you want to kill me?" Su Yun asked softly. "You touched my people." Su Huangming hesitated for a while and said, "Just because of that?" Su Yun was silent. After a while, he asked, "Although you are high up in the inner sect, you are still an inner sect disciple. If you were to kill the disciples of the Su family, you would definitely not have a good ending. You dared to do it so boldly. I'm afraid there is someone supporting you from behind, right? Tell me, who is the person supporting you? If you tell me, I will cripple you, but not kill you." "Crippling me is equivalent to killing me," Su Huangming said. Without cultivation, he would rather die than live. "Then what do you want? You want me to let you go? Will you believe me?" "I won't." "Then isn't that enough?" "So I won't say." Su Huangming suddenly laughed. His pair of dim eyes squinted. "You really won't say?" "Yes," he said softly. Su Yun nodded. After hesitating for a while, he moved his leg away from the big sword on the ground. Su Huangming secretly raised his eyes. He held the sword hilt in his hand. Slowly, he pulled the sword out. His eyes flashed with a strange light. At this time, Su Yun suddenly waved his hand. The Thousand Deep Sword immediately flew into his hand and slashed downward. His movements were as smooth as water, sinister and ruthless. He was extremely decisive. He had no intention of holding back at all. Su Huangming's eyes widened. He hurriedly raised his sword to block. But his speed was too slow. Before he could even lift his sword, Pucci, the Thousand Deep Sword fell. Su Huangming's head was directly chopped off. He rolled a few rounds on the ground. His body was covered in dust. Then, fresh blood spurted out. Su Yun's body was covered in blood. He looked at the dead Su Huangming expressionlessly. His heart sank. Su Huangming was dead. But his death did not let Su Yun relax, because behind Su Huangming's back, there were other people who wanted him dead. This matter had not been resolved yet. The death sword flew back into the storage ring. The Thousand Deep Sword went back into the sword sheath. Su Yun stood at the same spot for a while. He rummaged through Su Huangming's body. He took out some supplies and treasures and threw them into his storage ring. Then, he dragged his body into the bushes at the side. He covered it well. Then, he grabbed some dust from the ground. He scratched his clothes, face, hair. After everything was settled, he rushed towards the Su family's troop. He tried his best to make his expression look as though he was terrified. Both his eyes were wide open. His expression was distorted. He looked like he was terrified. Then, he maintained this look and approached the Su family troop. At this moment, the Su family troops had already started to clean up the battlefield. The ground was littered with the corpses of the Jaded Claws wolves. Fresh blood flowed like a river. Other than the 100+ Jaded Claws wolves from before, there were more than 10 who came to support. There were no deaths on the Su family side, but there were a few who were heavily injured and were receiving treatment. The inner sect disciples of the Su family led the troops to clean up the battlefield. At the same time, they were waiting for Su Huangming's arrival. A few inner sect disciples exchanged glances. They were all clear about each other. In a while, they were afraid that only one person would return. Su. Just then, hurried and frantic footsteps came from the small path that led deep into the forest. "Young master is here," an inner sect disciple called out. Everyone stood up and looked over at the same time, only to see a figure rushing out from there. When the figure came out, he panicked. He cried out bitterly, "Young Master Huangming! Young Master is dead!" Chapter 105. Su Yun. One of them fixed his gaze on it and was instantly dumbfounded. The person who rushed out was not the Su Huangming they were hoping for, but the Su Yun who they thought would definitely die. What was going on? Where was young Master Huangming? A few of the inner sect disciples were stunned and looked at each other in shock. "Su Yun, what are you talking about?" One of the inner sect disciples anxiously shouted. "What did you just say? What happened to young Master Huangming? What happened to him?" "He's already dead." Su Yun's eyes overflowed with a few tears. He extended his hand to wipe them and said in grief, "We were attacked by a large number of hungry wolves, and there were many wolf heads. There were too many hungry wolves. Just relying on young Master Huangming and I, it was impossible to defend against them. We were surrounded by a pack of wolves, and young Master Huangming was injured. He was unable to escape from the wolf pack. For everyone's safety, young Master Huangming broke out of the encirclement for me and covered my retreat. He allowed me to escape from the wolves' mouths and report to everyone so that everyone could quickly leave this place and leave the Jaded Claws forest." What? With that, everyone was stunned. No one expected that the main person in charge, Su Huangming, would actually die in the hands of the hungry Jaded Claws wolves. "Impossible!" One of the inner sect disciples gloomily said. The hungry Jaded Claws wolves were only at the first stage of the spirit intermediate disciple realm. Young Master Huangming was at least at the 7th stage of the spirit intermediate disciple realm. There was a difference of 6 stages between them. How could he be killed by the hungry Jaded Claws wolves? "You're obviously lying." There were more than 1,000 wolves, and there were many wolf heads. Young Master Huangming's body was made of flesh and blood. How could he fight against such a frightening number of hungry wolves? Just as the disciple questioned, Su Yun cried out in grief, "Young Master Huangming cannot die in vain. Everyone, quickly leave this place." Hearing that, the disciple was speechless. "You said there were more than 1,000 hungry wolves. Why didn't I hear any movement from the wolf pack?" Someone questioned again. "The wolf pack is still a distance away from here. Naturally they can't hear you. Everyone, quickly leave. The smell of blood will definitely attract the wolf pack. If you're late it'll be bad." Su Yun said again. "Impossible. Everything you said is fake." The inner sect disciples did not seem to give up and shouted, "Why don't you believe me?" Su Yun restrained his sorrowful expression and asked, "Because." The inner sect disciple was about to spit out his words, but they were stuck in his throat. None of the inner sect people would believe that Su Huangming would protect Su Yun from the wolf pack. Because the main reason why Su Huangming brought Su Yun there was to kill Su Yun. Save Su Yun? This was impossible. The inner sect people did not know how to explain the situation. After all, there were so many outer sect disciples. If this matter were to spread, the consequences would be serious. These inner sect people were all Su Huangming's men. Su Yun knew what they were questioning, but as long as Su Yun refused to admit it, they would not be able to do anything to him. If that's the case, then we must see Master Huangming's corpse. Finally, someone said something crucial. If he could see the corpse, the truth would naturally be revealed. I'm afraid the corpse has already entered the wolf's belly. Then let's take a look at these hungry wolves. The inner sect disciple seemed to be angry, and snorted. I don't believe it. Why would there be so many hungry wolves for no reason? We must confirm if this matter is true, and not just your side of the story. Yes, we must confirm that what you said is true. We have so many people, even if we meet a hungry wolf, we can't fight it, but can't we run? The few inner sect disciples shouted. Su Yun heard, but did not oppose, and nodded. Since everyone thinks that my words are just my side of the story, then I have nothing else to say. If you guys want to go, then go. But let me say this first, you guys go, I will not go. There are so many hungry wolves and I, Su Yun, am weak. I am not their opponent. I will leave the forest and wait outside the Jaded Claws forest for the masters of the inner sect. After saying that, he turned his head to the other outer sect disciples and shouted, What about everyone? Are you willing to follow them into the depths of the forest to see if there are any Jaded Claws wolves, or wait outside the forest with me? The outer sect disciples hesitated. Usually, they would listen to the inner sect disciples, and did not dare to disobey them. But now, it was a matter of life and death, and it was not a small matter. I will wait outside the forest, I don't want to see these hungry wolves anymore. An injured disciple shouted first. I will go too. Young masters of the inner sect, your strength is high, and your body is full of treasures and medicines. We cannot compare. I will wait outside the forest. Me too. The outer sect disciples of the Su family all expressed their stance. No one was willing to accompany the rest of the inner sect disciples into the depths of the forest. Regardless of whether Su Yun's words were true or false, at least Su Huangming did not arrive, and most likely died. Why would these outer sect disciples risk their lives for a dead person? Su Huangming was not important in their hearts. Seeing that the outer sect disciples refused to go, the inner sect disciples also hesitated. If the outer sect disciples were willing to go, they would not be afraid. After all, there were many people, but now there were only 10 inner sect disciples. If what Su Yun said was true, then they would be finished. 1 person against 100 hungry wolves? Even if they had Su Huangming's strength, it would still be very difficult. Seeing this situation, the inner sect disciples hesitated for a while. Finally, everyone chose to give up. As a result, the news of Su Huangming dying in the mouth of the hungry wolves was confirmed. An inner sect disciple rode his horse back to the Su family and reported the news. The rest of the people continued on their journey towards Tai Ching Lakeside. After Su Huangming's death, there was a need to elect a new person in charge. Su Yun could take up the responsibility. Although he was not an inner sect disciple, his strength was obvious. Defeating an inner sect disciple and accidentally killing Su Kuang was enough for him to have an extremely high prestige. But Su Yun did not want to take on more responsibilities. He did not want to care about too many things, so he let the strongest inner sect disciple, Su Guanhai, take up the responsibility. Of course, Su Guanhai's appointment was supported by Su Yun. After all, among the inner sect disciples, only he did not have a deep relationship with Su Huangming. Now that Su Huangming was dead, he would not offend Su Yun because of the grievances between Su Huangming and Su Yun. The rest of the journey would be peaceful. Su Huangming was dead. If he died in the mouth of the hungry wolves, then it was fine. But if he did not die in the mouth of the hungry wolves, but was killed by someone, then there would be a story behind it. The rest of the inner sect disciples did not dare to provoke Su Yun. No one brought up this matter again. A few days later, the Su family's troops finally neared Tai Ching Lakeside. They arrived at Snow Tang City, which was less than half a day's journey away from Tai Ching Lakeside. Captain Guan Hai, the fish hunt will begin the day after tomorrow. At that time, all the heroes and sects from all over the place will gather. The master of Tai Ching Monastery will lure them out and attack them together. It's useless for us to go to Tai Ching Lakeside now. Why don't we rest here in Snow Tang City for a day? Tomorrow we'll go to Tai Ching Lakeside and meet up with the other powers. At this time, an outer sect disciple rode his horse to Su Guan Hai's side and said respectfully. Su Yun looked up and saw that this monkey-like man with a buzz cut was actually Su Kang. Su Kang's cultivation level was not high, but he was shrewd. He had some fame in the outer sect. It was said that he had a close relationship with Su Qianguo, and had always been taken care of by Su Qianguo. Hearing this, the outer sect disciples all felt that it was reasonable and quickly agreed. Captain Guan Hai, Su Kang is right. Let's rest here. I'm afraid there are many heroes gathered in Tai Ching Monastery. If we go to Tai Ching Monastery, I'm afraid it will be inconvenient for us to stay. Let's rest in Snow Tang City for a day. Everyone said one after another. A few inner sect disciples could not bear to see the outer sect disciples making a ruckus. Their faces darkened and one of them shouted, "What's with the ruckus? Where's the propriety? Who are you? How dare you influence the captain's decision? All of you, shut up!" When the outer sect disciples heard this, they immediately shivered. No one dared to speak again. After offending the inner sect disciples, there would be endless trouble. Su Guan Hai did not speak. He lowered his head and thought about something. Actually, he also understood the reason why the outer sect disciples would say that. It was because the Tai Ching Monastery was too dry and boring. How could it be more interesting than Snow Tang City? It was rare to leave the Su family, and after the bloody battle in the Jaded Claws Forest, everyone was exhausted and wanted to relax. However, the inner sect disciples liked to establish their prestige in front of the outer sect disciples. If they agreed, they would lose face. Su Guan Hai was a little hesitant. Let's rest in Snow Tang City for a day. At this time, a voice came out. The inner sect disciple's face darkened. He immediately turned his gaze. He wanted to see who was so daring to be so presumptuous at this time. But the person who spoke was Su Yun. The inner sect disciple's face immediately swelled like a pig's liver. He wanted to say something but stopped. Su Yun was not a normal outer sect disciple. Even a normal inner sect disciple was not his opponent. How could he dare to offend him? Seeing that the inner sect disciple was defeated, the outer sect disciples felt refreshed. One by one, they started to worship Su Yun. It was not easy for an outer sect disciple to force an inner sect disciple to this stage. But Su Yun did not think so. He was thinking along the way, so he did not pay attention to the conversation between the inner and outer sect disciples. It was only when he was distracted that he heard Su Kang's words that he spoke. He came in a hurry and did not have a plan to obtain the heavenly scale divine eye. Hence, he needed a day to plan and prepare. There were many things that the Su family's outer sect shop did not have in stock. This Snow Tang City was considered a bustling city. There was a branch of the Sky Sun auction house. Most of the things that were needed were complete. It was convenient to buy things. If he went to Tai Ching Temple, it would be very difficult to prepare things. The inner sect disciples looked at each other. Everyone's eyes were filled with anger. But no one said a word. Su Guan Hai nodded indifferently and said, "All right, since Su Yun has said so, then let's go to Snow Tang City to rest for a day. Along the way, everyone has used up a lot of medicinal pills. Once we enter Snow Tang City, everyone can go pick some good medicinal pills and prepare for the battle the day after tomorrow." Yes, Captain Guan Hai. The outer sect disciples of the Su family were elated. Everyone quickened their pace and headed towards Snow Tang City. After entering the city, it was really bustling. It was already dusk, but the streets of the city were still filled with people. It was very lively. The hawkers and shops on both sides of the road were crowded. Business was booming. Many farmers and hunters brought all kinds of materials and beast corpses to sell. There were also many spirit cultivators selling treasures that they did not need. "Let's find a place to rest first," Su Guanhai said. "Hee, Captain, I've been here before. I know of a good spirit cultivation inn in the city. Shall I bring you there?" Su Kong came over and said with a cheeky smile. Su Guanhai nodded. Su Kong hurriedly led the way. Very soon, the Su family team arrived in front of the inn. How Family Inn? Su Guanhai looked at the golden words on the signboard of the luxurious inn and frowned as he read it out. "Heh, this name is really good at taking advantage of others." An inner sect disciple at the side snorted and then called out to an outer sect disciple, "You go and arrange the rooms." Yes, the outer sect disciple did not dare to delay. He immediately got off his horse and walked into the inn. Everyone waited outside the inn and chatted in low voices. The women were talking about the beautiful treasures and accessories here. The men were either talking about their cultivation level or admiring the female cultivators who came and went. Their gazes were not honest. After about the time it took to burn a stick of incense, bang! At this time, a muffled sound came from the inn. Following that, a figure flew out of the inn and directly fell outside the door. Ouch! That person fell heavily on the ground and rolled a few times. There was blood at the corner of his mouth. He was in so much pain that his entire body was trembling. He could not even stand up. The Su family was stunned. They all looked over and saw that this person was the outer sect disciple of the Su family who had just entered the inn. What happened? Su Guanhai asked in shock. Chapter 106. The Su family members all dismounted from their horses. A few outer sect disciples hurriedly ran over and helped the outer sect disciple, who was in so much pain that he was trembling. They roughly checked his wound and saw that the wound on his abdomen still had waves of gold attribute wild blade chi. This chi was like a small whirlpool, twisting the flesh on his abdomen and twisting his internal organs. Although the chi was not strong and not fatal, it was enough to make him wish he was dead. "Young masters," the outer sect disciple helplessly asked for help from the inner sect disciples. The outer sect disciples had low cultivation levels and were afraid that they would not be able to withstand this wild blade chi. Only the inner sect disciples could withstand it. However, no one paid attention to this cry for help. The inner sect disciples all looked towards the inn. Only Su Guanhai dismounted from his horse and quickly walked over. After checking on the outer sect disciples' injuries, he immediately activated his profound spirit chi and covered his abdomen to offset the force of the attack. The other inner sect disciples rode their horses towards the entrance of the inn. A few of them formed an arc and surrounded the entrance of the inn. The leader of the inner sect disciples, Su Yukong, rushed towards the entrance of the inn and shouted, "Which bastard dares to touch our Su family's people?" The inner sect disciples were used to being arrogant in the Su family and could not tolerate anyone humiliating them. Although they were not interested in standing up for the outer sect disciple, they would not allow anyone to disrespect them. Where did this bunch of dolls come from? So noisy, what's all this noise about? Do you believe that I will send you all out of Snow Tang City? A rough voice shouted. Following that, a group of spirit cultivators wearing brown leather armor walked out from the entrance of the inn. This group of people were all tall and strong. Regardless of male or female, they all had arrogant expressions. Every one of them had an extremely large blade on their waist or back. Some of the blades were extremely wide, almost 2 feet long. The heavy blades were sheathed in their sheaths. Just by looking at them, one could tell that they were not light. They were full of vigor and could suppress the Su family members. "You are?" A few of the inner sect disciples were stunned. Su Yukong asked, You are from the Relentless Heart Pavilion? You guys have some foresight. The leader of the group, Zhu Xingshi, sneered. He had a big bald head, his face was full of meat, his entire body was bulging, and his bare arms were bulging like small hills. What happened? Su Guanhai removed the wild blade qi on the abdomen of the outer sect disciple and said to the disciple with a pale face, Captain, I entered the door to ask for a room, but these guys wouldn't let me. They said they wanted to book the entire inn and told me to scram. I said I was a member of the Su clan, and in the end, they beat me. They even said they were beating a member of the Su clan. This outer sect disciple said with a sobbing tone. This is too much. Are all the people from Relentless Heart Pavilion so arrogant? The outer sect disciples were enraged. Su Yun looked at the tense situation from behind, and did not say anything. He stood alone and watched from behind. From the token hanging on their waists, they should be inner disciples of Relentless Heart Pavilion. Inner court disciple? Are these all? Su Yukong was secretly shocked. The inner sect disciple at the side nodded. There were more than 20 people from the Relentless Heart Pavilion, and they were all inner house disciples. If there was a conflict between the two sides, the Su clan would definitely be at a disadvantage. Hey, I'll talk. The leader of the Relentless Heart Pavilion, Zhu Xingshi, shouted again. I say, you bunch of dolls better scram. We'll book this inn. If you want to go, go to another inn. If you dare to come here again, I'll beat you up so badly that even your parents won't be able to recognize you. Ha 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 ha. The group of Relentless Heart Pavilion people laughed without a care in the world. Bastard! Su Yukong's entire body trembled. Su Guanhai did not make a sound. No one knew his decision. Come, let's go in and drink. After Zhu Xingshi laughed, he waved his hand and said, Go go go! Senior brother, today I'll definitely make you drunk. The disciples of Relentless Heart Pavilion laughed and shouted. Seeing this group of people looking down on them, as inner sect disciples of the Su clan, Su Yukong and the rest were already mad with anger. They clenched their teeth, their faces contorted and their bodies trembled. Finally, Su Yukong could not take it anymore. With a loud roar, he jumped from the spirit stallion and rushed towards Zhu Xingshi. Relentless Heart Pavilion bastard, don't look down on me. Take this. With that, Su Yukong gathered all the profound spirit qi in his fist and shot towards Zhu Xingshi like a cannonball. Zhu Xingshi, who had his arms around the shoulders of his fellow sect disciples, had a face full of smiles. It was as if he already knew that the Su clan would have such a move. The qi in his body was released immediately. With a laugh, he turned around and punched. The golden wild blade qi wrapped around his fist and hit Su Yukong's body. The wind from the punch was like a lion's roar. Its grandeur was out of the ordinary. With one punch, before the fist even reached, the force had already hit Su Yukong's body. Su Yukong's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly changed the direction of his punch and hit towards Zhu Xingshi's huge fist. Bang! Both fists collided. Zhu Xingshi's body did not move an inch. The wind from the punch was strong, and it was not dissipated by this attack. On the other hand, Su Yukong was completely different. His body was shaking non-stop, his face was pale, and the qi in his body was frantically moving. In the end, it completely dissipated. The remaining force from Zhu Xingshi's fist began to affect his body. In the next moment, Su Yukong's entire body flew out and landed on the ground fiercely. His head and face were covered in dirt, and he was in a sorry state. Su Yukong stood up with a face full of anger. But before he could stand up straight, he tasted something sweet in his throat and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Seeing this situation, everyone knew the difference between the two parties. Sneak attack from behind, and still can't beat him. Our senior Jew's power is really unfathomable. Haha, this bunch of rascals from the Su clan only have this much ability? They can't even hurt Senior Ju half an inch with sneak attacks? Aren't they a little too weak? Speaking of which, what are these rascals doing here? Don't tell me they're here to participate in the fish hunt? It can't be? Just based on them? Hurry up and go back to the Su family to drink milk. They can really lose. Ha 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 ha, a bunch of Relentless Heart Pavilion people laughed out loud. Their expressions were filled with disdain and ridicule. Damn it! The Su clan was completely enraged. But no one dared to stand out. Su Yukong was an inner sect disciple, and his power was at the second stage of the Spirit Intermediate Disciple realm. Against Zhu Xingshi, he actually lost in one move. It was enough to show that Zhu Xingshi was at least at the third stage of the Spirit Intermediate Disciple realm. The outer sect disciples had no chance of winning against Zhu Xingshi. Even a portion of the inner sect disciples could not take advantage of him. If only young Master Huang Ming was here. He is at the 7th stage of the Spirit Intermediate Disciple realm. How could he not be Zhu Xingxi's opponent? A few of the inner sect disciples clenched their fists and said angrily. The scene was rather awkward. A few passers-by stopped and looked from afar. They were discussing. Many of the spirit cultivators recognized the identities of the two parties. They cupped their hands and watched the show. My friends from the Relentless Heart Pavilion, isn't this a little too much? Suddenly, a voice came out. Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice. The person who spoke was the captain of the Su family, Su Guanhai. What are you? Zhu Xingshi snorted. Furthermore, we, the Relentless Heart Pavilion, do not make friends with the weak. Don't try to get close to us. Is that so? Su Guanhai walked over slowly. Between his brows, there was a trace of anger. Su Yun, who was behind the crowd, looked at him quietly. He could not help but think. Truthfully, Su Guanhai gave him the impression that he was as calm as water. He stood aloof from worldly affairs. If not for Su Yun's recommendation, he would not have become the captain of this team. But his popularity was not bad. Regardless of whether it was the inner sect or the outer sect, they were all convinced. Seeing Su Guanhai's fearless attitude towards Zhu Xingshi, it could be seen that his strength was not bad. Since that's the case, then Guanhai would like to learn a few moves from Senior Xingshi. Su Guanhai did not speak any nonsense. He immediately revealed his intentions. Zhu Xingshi heard and hugged his chest as he laughed. He extended one hand and pointed his finger at Su Guanhai. Then, he hooked his finger. Come on! And so, Su Guanhai moved. His speed was not fast. It could be seen that his profound spirit chi was not like Su Yukong's sword cultivator's swift wind spirit chi. Zhu Xingxi's wild blade spirit chi was extremely destructive. Su Yukong was at a disadvantage when he collided with Zhu Xingxi's fist. Not to mention that Zhu Xingxi's cultivation level was higher than his. Even if his cultivation level was the same as his, he would not be able to gain any advantage. But Su Guanhai walked towards him casually. His steps were steady and steady. His left and right were even. He moved closer and closer. God's shadow steps? That's a high-level step technique from our inner sect's mystical technique chamber. Some of the inner sect disciples exclaimed. I didn't expect Captain Guanhai to exchange for such a mystical technique. Although Su Guanhai's steps were light and nimble, his body swayed and formed layers of illusions. Zhu Xingshi could not pinpoint his exact position. Seems like you have some skills. Zhu Xingshi snorted. He fixed his eyes on one point and immediately threw a punch. The extremely ferocious wild blade spirit chi was accompanied by the sounds of metal spears and armored horses. He predicted that this punch would definitely hit. Bada. Just as the fist was about to hit, a palm suddenly wrapped around his iron fist. Everyone was stunned. Looking at the palm, it was actually from Su Guanhai. It's the frigid aqua spirit chi. The spectators at the side shouted. The spirit chi was mutually reinforcing and restraining. Such a strong, wild blade spirit chi, Although it was best to restrain the wood-attributed spirit life chi, the frigid aqua spirit chi was not weak either. Using softness to overcome hardness, this palm immediately dissipated the wild blade spirit chi on Zhu Xingshir's fist, leaving nothing behind. Following that, pung! A palm struck towards Zhu Xingshir's chest. The frigid aqua spirit chi in the palm was like a whirlpool twisting around his chest. It was just like what Zhu Xingshir and the others did to the outer sect disciple. Zhu Xingshir's chest was in extreme pain, and he could not help but retreat. No one expected that Su Guanhai would be so unfathomable. Especially the inner sect disciples, all of them were stunned. I did not expect Su Guanhai to have such strength. I'm afraid his cultivation is at least at the 5th stage of the spirit intermediate disciple realm. He's not simple. Su Yun quietly watched Su Guanhai's actions. His expression became serious. When experts exchanged blows, it involved many exquisite and peerless technique. If he could learn one or two of them, it would definitely be beneficial. Chapter 107. The profound spirit chi was ever-changing. Everyone had their own profound spirit chi attribute. The scarlet star spirit chi, that leaned towards fire, the true divine spirit chi, that leaned towards earth, the swift wind spirit chi, that leaned towards wood, the wild blade spirit chi, that leaned towards metal, and the frigid aqua spirit chi, that leaned towards water. Other than that, there were other types of chi attribute. For example, the demonic chi of the demon, the pure divine chi of the limitless sword sect. A few experts could also create a more suitable chi for themselves, but there were very few of them. A person with a fiery temper would be able to cultivate the scarlet star aura with half the effort. A person with a calm personality like still water would be most suitable to cultivate the frigid aqua aura. If it was the other way around, it would be more strenuous, and one's temperament would easily become chaotic. The Su family mainly cultivated the swift wind spirit chi. Most of them cultivated the sword spirit chi, followed by the true divine spirit chi. Those who cultivated the frigid aqua spirit chi were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. Of course, every type of chi had its own unique characteristic. For example, a person who trained in the true divine spirit chi would have an incomparably strong body, able to withstand blades and swords without being able to pierce through his body. A person who trained in the spirit life chi would not be afraid of being injured by blades and swords. No matter how heavy the injury, he would be able to quickly heal himself. As for the frigid aqua spirit chi, it had the ability to dissolve tens of thousands of techniques, using the unchanging intent to deal with the myriad of changes. At the same time, it could also use one's own chi to fuse with other chi, achieving a healing effect. Currently, Su Guanhai was like that. He was unchanging, and using his own chi to fuse with Zhu Xingshir's wild blade chi. The dense destructive wild blade spirit chi clashed with Su Guanhai. It was like a fist hitting cotton. It was suppressed to the point that it could not be released. Zhu Xingshir retreated a few steps and was in a passive position. That relentless heart pavilion member's expression turned serious. I didn't expect the Su family to have such an expert. It seems like we have underestimated the Su family. Senior sister, let senior brother Zhu come back. A man from the relentless heart pavilion said to a well-dressed, tall, and well-endowed woman. The short-haired woman shook her head and said, Senior brother Zhu won't come back. However, you guys were too careless. He only suffered a loss in the fight. This doesn't mean that senior brother Zhu is no match for Su Guanhai. Does senior brother Zhu still have a trump card? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Just wait and see. The woman named Tu Fenghua said. Zhu Xingshir suffered a loss from Su Guanhai's sneak attack, but he was not discouraged. He took a deep breath and attacked again. He clenched one hand into a fist and punched towards Su Guanhai, while his other hand secretly changed to a palm and hid. Patter! Without any suspense, Su Guanhai's palm once again wrapped around it. He neutralized this move. However, Zhu Xingshir's hidden attack was like a poisonous snake that rushed out. He did not choose to attack Su Guanhai, but directly attacked the palm that was wrapped around him. This move was decisive and had a kind of momentum that could split metal and break rock. Su Guanhai hurriedly retracted his palm, and Zhu Xingshir's fist that was wrapped in the cloth followed the flow, and struck towards Su Guanhai's chest. Su Guanhai quickly raised both of his palms and instigated the frigid aqua spirit qi in an attempt to dissolve the attack. But Zhu Xingshir's attack was exceptionally ferocious. Both of his palms struck out, one above and one below. Although Su Guanhai could dissolve the opponent's spirit qi, the opponent was attacking separately, and there was no way he could dissolve it in time. He blocked the fist from above, but the palm from below struck his lower abdomen. He hurriedly retreated, staggered, and fell to the ground. His face was pale, and it was obvious that he had suffered internal injuries. The spectators at the side watched and gasped. Although Su Guanhai's strength was not bad, his fighting power was not as good as Zhu Xingshir's. His fighting experience was also far from Zhu Xingshir's. The most important thing was that the frigid aqua spirit qi could not be fatal in a fight. On the contrary, the wild blade qi could achieve a one-hit kill effect. If Su Guanhai had used the wild blade qi previously, Zhu Xingshir would have been defeated. Ah, thanks for letting me win. Zhu Xingshir laughed and rushed towards Su Guanhai. Su Guanhai took a deep breath. His pale face did not show much anger. He pushed away the people beside him who were supporting him and tried his best to stand up. Then, he bowed towards Zhu Xingshir. Senior Zhu's strength is strong and I admire it. Since Guanhai's skills are not as good, then I shall not stay here to chat. I shall take my leave now. With that, Su Guanhai brought his men and left. Captain, are we leaving just like that? The few inner sect disciples were still unsatisfied. Our skills are not as good as them. How can we stay in the same inn with them? Su Guanhai said blandly. But if we leave, then we will lose face for the Su family. Su Yukong complained. Don't tell me you think our Su family has not lost enough face? Su Guanhai shook his head. Furthermore, we are not their opponents. If we continue to be in a stalemate, it will only get worse. Let's go. Seeing Su Guanhai's insistence, these people did not say anything else. They could only sigh and agree. Please stay. Just at this time, Zhu Xingshir suddenly shouted. The Su family was stunned. Zhu Xingshir smiled and walked forward. Although Brother Guanhai did not win me, it is not because he is not strong enough. Brother Guanhai is magnanimous, humble and elegant. I like it. Come, you guys stay in this inn. I will let people vacate a few rooms for you guys. When the Su family heard this, they were all stunned. Su Guanhai was also stunned and quickly said, Thank you, Senior Zhu. But you guys don't have to be like this. We can go to other inns. Other inns? Haha, you guys are thinking too much. All the inns in Snow Tang City have been booked by other patriarchs or sections. Every inn is a sect. You guys are late and you want to stay in? Difficult. There's such a thing. Su Kong was shocked. Su Guanhai was silent. He turned his head to look at the surrounding crowd, seeing that there were many spirit cultivators who were influential people. After thinking for a while, he nodded his head, then respectfully bowed to Hua Zhu Xingshir, and said, Since it's like that, then we will follow your orders. Guanhai represents all the clansmen to thank Senior Zhu. Haha, just because you called me Senior Zhu. Come, let's go in and have a drink. Zhu Xingshir laughed heartily. He grabbed Su Guanhai's wrist and pulled him inside. Seeing that the two parties did not have any grudges and instead had a perfect ending, the people who were watching were disappointed. Senior sister, is this all right? Seeing that Zhu Xingshir took the initiative to ask the other party to stay, a few disciples from Relentless Heart Pavilion were unhappy. Who cares? Although your senior brother has a bad temper, he always remembers other people's small favors. Su Guanhai is indeed powerful. He retreated in order to advance. But Zhu Xingshi, that idiot, fell for it. Tu Fenghua shook her head and said helplessly. One by one, the Su family entered the inn. And Su Yun, from start to end, was walking at the back. He lowered his head and thought about the battle between Zhu Xingshi and Su Guanhai. Although the battle was short, the two of them used all their strength. Every move was exquisite. If he used his sword to defend, how would he fight? If he were to swap places with either one of them, how would he deal with the enemy? As he thought about it, Su Yun's fingers started to move uncontrollably. His brain started to imagine such a scene. Tu Fenghua, who was standing by the door and watching the Su family walk in, stared curiously at the tall and skinny person at the back. Her heart was startled. This person's qi was restrained. Su Yun could not tell his cultivation level. But what was his finger doing? Tu Fenghua was confused. After entering the inn, the shopkeeper who was hiding behind the counter came out with a smile. He hurriedly called for the waiter to serve the Su family. Zhu Xingshi wanted to pull Su Guanhai to drink. How could Su Guanhai not give him face? Coincidentally, there were a few people from the Su family who could hold their liquor, so he called them over. Only Su Yun was hiding in his room, cultivating. He floated the sword in the air, and controlled it to fly around. Where are we? The Sword Elder's voice came out from the Limitless Sword Manual. Snow Tang City's How Family Inn. Su Yun said. Why are we here? Mission. Oh, the Sword Elder nodded and smiled. Speaking of which, the last time I obtained the 3 elemental essence qi, this old man's spirit power doubled. I feel much better now. Congratulations, senior. Su Yun laughed and continued to control the flying sword. What are you doing? Feeling that Su Yun's attention was focused on the flying sword, the Sword Elder was confused. Su Yun hesitated for a while and asked, Senior. The Limitless Sword Manual mainly uses qi to control the sword. Using qi to control the sword, one can practice the ultimate way of controlling the sword, right? Although what you said is very simple, but I can't say it's wrong. The Sword Elder said. Then, Senior, I would like to ask, does the first sword of the Limitless Sword Manual pay attention to any sword techniques? No. What about the second sword? Also no. If that's the case, the Limitless Sword Manual is purely used to control the sword to kill the enemy. What are you trying to say? The Sword Elder asked. If it's purely used to control the sword to kill the enemy, without any techniques, then wouldn't the Limitless Sword Manual not be as strong as I imagined? Su Yun frowned. The Sword Elder was stunned for a while, then he laughed. Ha 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 ha. Kid, why would you have such a thought? Su Yun was confused. After a long time, the Sword Elder stopped laughing and said, Kid, let me ask you, if you can control 10,000 swords and you kill a strong cultivator, how will you kill him? 10,000 swords will kill him. Su Yun said, but once the words came out, he felt that it would not be so simple. Cultivating 10,000 swords is not easy. If I reach that realm, I am afraid that the enemy I face will not be ordinary. I am afraid that ordinary swords will not be able to hurt them. Yes. The Sword Elder nodded. But at that time, the 10,000 swords will not be ordinary swords. Su Yun did not understand. What do you mean? The answer is in the sword sheath on your back. Sword sheath? Su Yun looked at it and suddenly understood. Ordinary swords rarely had a spirit, but the swords in the sword sheath each had a sword spirit, and each of them was powerful. If the 108,000 swords in the sword sheath were all subdued, what kind of terrifying method would that be? Each sword is infinitely powerful. With 10,000 swords attacking together, what kind of technique do you need? This is what it means to have no moves to win. In the face of absolute power, all so-called techniques will be useless, the Sword Elder said. Su Yun nodded, was silent for a moment, and sighed. But right now I am still unable to cultivate 10,000 sword. I am unable to conquer all the swords in the sword sheath. I can only control 2 swords. If I meet someone stronger than me, how can I fight? Ordinary sword techniques and the imperial sword technique are not related. This time, I was lucky to obtain the heaven-splitting sword technique, which increased the power of the imperial sword technique. But just relying on this, it is obviously not enough. AI? Strange. Why is it that ordinary sword techniques are not related to this limitless sword arts? Kid, don't you know that all sword techniques and even other mystical techniques can be combined with the limitless sword arts? Su-yun heard this, and his eyes lit up. He quickly asked, Elder, please tell me. Chapter 108. The next day, Su-yun went out alone and went to the martial arts field of Snow Tang City. The martial arts field of Snow Tang City was already bustling with activity. Because the fish hunt was going to be held the next day, Snow Tang City and Tai Chin Temple were filled with spirit cultivators from all over the place. In the martial arts field, there were many disciples from various clans and sects sparring with each other. There were very few people practicing alone. Even if they wanted to practice, they would not do it here. Su-yun found a corner of the martial arts field. After paying the rental fee, he went in and started practicing with his sword. Currently, there were many sword techniques circulating in the market, but there were very few powerful ones. After spending 10,000 spirit coins, he bought the Fallen Leaves sword technique and started learning it. Su-yun, your fundamental sword techniques are very solid, your sword intent is dense, your profound spirit chi is abundant, and with the support of the everlasting stone, your perception is amazing. Practicing sword techniques will be many times faster than an ordinary person. You should practice this sword technique, and when the sword is complete, after the sword is completed, I will teach you how to use the sword technique to control the sword. Sword technique to control the sword? Su-yun was puzzled, but he did not ask. He concentrated on practicing. He asked the sword elder why he did not teach him some of the limitless sword sect's sword techniques, but the sword elder could only helplessly shake his head. He claimed that his cultivation was not high enough, so he did not have the qualifications to learn. Su-yun was helpless. He could only practice the sword techniques circulating in the market. Only the inner sect of the Su family could obtain good sword technique. At first, Su-yun's sword movements were still very jerky. But after continuous practice, it became smooth like flowing water. It is not a burden to have more techniques. Many people think that learning more is more complicated. But in the way of the sword, this saying is wrong. There are many sword techniques. There are only advantages and no disadvantages, because the execution of sword techniques cannot be separated from the sword. Some mystical skills are released using chi as the foundation. Through the changes in hand seals and the narration of the chant, the trajectory of chi can be changed. But because it is chi, it cannot be changed at will, because when you use this mystical skill, you are using your own body as the carrier to change. Sword skills are different. Most sword skills are used to attack and can be changed at will. When a sword skill is executed halfway, it can be changed immediately. Geniuses can even suddenly change paths while executing a sword skill and forcefully link it to another sword skill. Even if you use chi to execute a sword skill, it can also be done like this. The strength of a sword is not something a human can compare to. Moreover, the sword itself is much simpler than a human's body. Chi and the sword will not conflict. If you have enough time, you can buy all the sword skills on the market and learn them. From these simple and common sword skills, you can find new and extraordinary sword skills. This is also a kind of increase in strength. Really? Su-yun muttered. The Limitless sword sect's sword techniques are all high-level sword technique. The lowest level sword technique is also at the earth level. If you can master these common sword techniques, I can teach you a set of limitless sword technique. All right. Su-yun's eyes lit up. His heart was filled with desire. With the motivation, he was extremely focused when he started training. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the wind from the sword blew and the cold glint flashed. In just a day's work, he had already mastered the fallen leaves sword technique. It had to be said that Su Yun's talent in training was too shocking. In the entire sky martial continent there were not many people like him. When the sword technique was mastered, he would use qi as a bridge. He would wield the qi that controlled the sword to achieve the trajectory of the sword. Su Yun was thinking along the way. He was trying to figure out how to combine the limitless sword technique with normal sword technique. Unknowingly, he had returned to the Hao family inn. Just as he returned to the inn, a series of loud shouts could be heard. "What kind of dog is your Su family? You dare to challenge our relentless heart pavilion? If it wasn't for our senior Xing Shi who pitied you and let you stay in the inn, you would have long been sleeping on the streets." Bullshit. It was obviously our Captain Guan Hai who gave in. If not, your Xing Shi would have long lost. He knew that his skills were not as good as ours and was ashamed. That's why he let our Su family into the inn. Scram! What do you mean by not as good as ours? If you have the guts, fight with us? F***ck. You think I'm afraid of you? The shouts could not be stopped. It was extremely explosive inside. Su Yun was stunned. He walked in and saw that the Su family and the disciples of the Relentless Heart Pavilion were divided into two groups. Each of them had their arrows drawn and the situation was extremely urgent. What happened? Su Yun asked an outer sect disciple. It's young Master Su Yun. The disciple regained his senses and said anxiously, "Just now, young Master Su Yukong was eating here and heard the disciples of the Relentless Heart Pavilion talking. They were mocking young Master Su Yukong for overestimating himself and challenging Zhu Xingshi. Young Master Su Yukong was furious and went over to argue with them. In the end, he was beaten up by them. Just like that, they started fighting." "Then what about Captain Guan Hai and Zhu Xingshi? The two of them were drunk last night. I reckon they are not awake yet." "Oh." Su Yun was silent. The shopkeeper and the waiter were so scared that they went into hiding. Who would dare to interfere in such matters? Even the mayor of Snow Tang City would not be able to do anything about it. After all, they were all from sects or families. They were not to be trifled with. He sighed and waved his hand. "Tell them to disperse." Hearing that, the man's face turned masculine. Why would young Master Su Yukong agree? He has long been unhappy with the people of the Relentless Heart Pavilion. I'm afraid they will still have to fight. Su Yun shook his head. Even if that's the case, our powers are indeed not as good as the Relentless Heart Pavilion. Yesterday, Captain Guan Hai let us leave because he saw this point. Along the way, we met with the Jaded Claws wolves. Many of us were injured and our powers were greatly reduced. If we were to clash with the Relentless Heart Pavilion, we would definitely not be able to gain any advantage. So, it's better to disperse. Su Yun, you are so greedy for life and you still call yourself a member of the Su family? An angry voice sounded. Su Yun looked over and saw that the person who spoke was Su Yukong. It was as if he heard Su Yun's words. Immediately, he flew into a rage out of humiliation. He did not care about the situation and immediately shouted, "That's right, Su Yun. Young Master Huang Ming risked his life to save you. Yet you behave like this. What face do you have to face young Master Huang Ming in the underworld?" Another person shouted, "What face? Su Huang Ming was sent to the underworld by me." Su Yun snorted but did not make a sound. He looked at the group of people and planned to leave. This group of people were being unreasonable. He did not want to bother with them. It was better to have less trouble. It was more important to cultivate. Are all of you from the Su family so greedy for life and afraid of death? But that's true. It's better to have less trouble. I think all of you should learn from that cowardly tortoise and go back to your own rooms. Don't give me more trouble. I still want to drink. The leader of the Relentless Heart Pavilion, Li Xiong, opened his mouth and laughed. Everyone immediately held their stomachs and laughed. Cowardly tortoise? Su Yun stopped in his tracks and turned to look at him. What are you looking at? Get lost. Or else I will beat you up so badly that your mother won't recognize you. Seeing Su Yun looking at him, Li Xiong immediately shouted and wanted to shake Su Yun back. Su Yun took a deep breath and started thinking. Although his sword techniques were small, he did not have any battle experience. He could try it on them. After thinking, Su Yun walked towards the man. The Su family all opened their eyes wide and looked at Su Yun in confusion. The people from the Relentless Heart Pavilion were also confused. Oh! Tu Fenghua, who was sitting at the side drinking and watching the show, also turned her head and looked at Su Yun with interest. Su Yun was alone and walked to the front of Li Xiong. A pair of eyes as calm as water looked at him and did not make any movements. Brat, do you want to fight? Li Xiong looked at Su Yun and saw that the token on his waist was only the outer sect token of the Su family. His eyes were immediately filled with ridicule and he laughed disdainfully. Su Yun nodded. In the next second, he made his move. His arm was empty and he used his sword technique to slash towards Li Xiong. The thick profound spirit qi quickly turned into pure divine spirit qi and fiercely pressed down. Like the collapse of Mount Tai, the river flowed in reverse, thousands of power suddenly exploded. The people could not even react. Li Xiong too. Dong! A muffled sound rang out. Everyone felt the air around them tremble. Before they could react, they saw Li Xiong's entire body was hammered into the ground. His body was embedded in the ground. The entire inn was cracked and the surrounding area trembled. The people in the inn were stunned. Everyone was shocked and silent. Your reaction is too slow. I thought your reaction speed should be fast enough. Su Yun stared at Li Xiong, who was embedded in the ground and had already fainted. He shook his head lightly and looked at the others. Is there anyone else who wants to scold me? Everyone had not regained their senses. They widened their eyes and stared at him blankly. The Su family was completely dumbfounded. Many of them had their mouths wide open. No one expected Su Yun to suddenly make a move and it was so overbearing. Don't be arrogant. Bastard! Another person from Relentless Heart Pavilion rushed out. It was Chong Hei, who was wearing leather armor and wielding a broad dagger. He leaped out and immediately took out his dagger. It seemed like he wanted to let Su Yun have a good fight. The wild blade qi wrapped around the dagger. With a thick and shocking force, it was about to pierce through Su Yun's shoulder blade. Su Yun continued to swing his wrist. Although his hand was empty, it was as if he was holding a sword. With a fast and strange arc, the empty fist struck towards Chong Hei's wrist. Bang! Chong Hei's wrist was in pain. His opponent's qi had hit his meridian. His strength was cut off and the dagger slipped from his hand. Then, Su Yun kicked his abdomen. Bang! Chong Hei smashed through the door of the inn and flew out. He rolled on the street before stopping. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Li Xiong is only a first-stage spirit intermediate disciple. He is not considered an expert here. But Chong Hei is a second-stage spirit intermediate disciple. Such an existence against Su Yun. He could not even take one move. Su Yun, what cultivation level is he at? Su Yukong muttered. The people from Relentless Heart Pavilion were even more shocked. Their eyes almost fell out of their sockets. Where did this brat come from? The Su family has such a person? Why did I see the badge on his waist? He is just an outer sect member of the Su family. The outer sect members of the Su family are already so strong. The people from Relentless Heart Pavilion asked each other. Their mouths were moving but their eyes were fixed on that person. Clang! Just then, the sound of a chair being moved rang out. In the suddenly silent inn, it was extremely piercing to the ears. Su Yun looked over to see that Tu Fenghua, who was drinking, had already stood up. The atmosphere suddenly changed. She used the back of her hand to wipe her slightly thick lip. She turned around and stared at Su Yun with a pair of sharp eyes. A thick desire to fight rose. Tu Feng Hua had the highest prestige among the disciples of Relentless Heart Pavilion. Although she was a female, she did things swiftly and decisively. She did things without any sloppiness. She trained hard and was strong. Everyone respected her. Of course, the most important thing was, she was the daughter of the great clan elder of Relentless Heart Pavilion. Because of that, if the #1 disciple of the inner sect, Zhu Xingshi, was not around, she would be the leader of this group of disciples. Tu Feng Hua's eyes were solemn. She stared at Su Yun passionately. Suddenly, her figure moved and she rushed over. Like a tigress pouncing on its prey, her imposing manner was extraordinary. She shocked everyone. Her body suddenly exploded with wild blade qi. She actually pushed the Su family and Relentless Heart Pavilion disciples away. What an imposing manner! Su Yun's eyes were also filled with passion. Today's Fallen Leaves sword technique could not be practiced by this person. Fallen Leaves sword technique had all the moves. But just knowing the moves was not enough for one sword technique. He had to practice and temper it before he could truly learn it. Tu Feng Hua's fist came flying over. Although her fist was small, the force behind it was astonishing. The sound of the fist was like the roar of a ferocious tiger. But Su Yun was not afraid. He raised his fist and aimed at the fist. Then, he directly threw it over. He did not hold back at all. There was no hesitation. He released all of his qi. Tu Feng Hua's eyes swelled. Looking at the incoming fist, her heart could not help but tremble. Bang! Both fists collided. Tu Feng Hua's imposing manner trembled slightly. She retreated quickly. After retreating 7 to 8 steps, she finally stopped. She opened her eyes and stared at Su Yun. She stared at the floating qi on his fist. She asked in astonishment, "What kind of profound spirit qi is this?" Chapter 109. Swift Wind Spirit Qi. Su Yun said blandly. He would not reveal the pure divine spirit qi. With the Su family present, once it was revealed, the rare attribute of pure divine spirit qi would definitely attract a lot of trouble. Swift wind spirit qi? Tu Feng Hua frowned and snorted. An outer sect disciple, to be able to cultivate swift wind spirit qi to such a high level, you are not simple. But don't look down on me. Relentless Heart Pavilion is not a place where you can behave atrociously. Then let me see what you have up your sleeves. Su Yun extended his hand and took out 1,000-deep sword from the sword sheath on his back. Then, he hooked his finger at her. It was obvious that he wanted her to use her weapon. Tu Feng Hua did not hesitate. Her right hand swiped at her left hand. A slender curved blade appeared. The blade's edge flashed. She waved her arm. Wild blade spirit qi caused the blade's body to shine with a golden light. It was extremely dazzling. Then, she slashed in the air. 3 rays of blade qi flew over and attacked Su Yun. Su Yun did not activate his pure divine spirit qi to block. Instead, he moved and swayed. He forcefully passed through the middle of the blade qi and got close to Tu Feng Hua. He was fighting in close combat. This action caused the spectators to break out in cold sweat. Once they were hit by the blade qi, with the wild blade spirit qi's destructive power and sharpness, they were afraid that it would easily cut their bodies apart. Su Yun's action was too daring. Once he got close, Su Yun brandished his sword and slashed. The sword tip was like a falling leaf. Sometimes it was light, sometimes it was heavy. Sometimes it spun and sometimes it pierced forward. It was as though it was dancing with the wind. That wind was the so-called swift wind spirit qi that was released from the human body. Every move, every opening and closing were erratic and without a trace. Fallen Leaves sword technique. The people from Relentless Heart Pavilion exclaimed. 10,000 spirit coins worth of Fallen Leaves sword technique from the auction house? This rascal actually used such a common sword technique to deal with Big Senior Sister. He's too despicable. He's simply looking down on senior sister? The people from Relentless Heart Pavilion were furious. Although Su Yun's previous methods had shocked them, but facing Su Yun's arrogant and egotistical actions, everyone was furious. This was simply looking down on them. Compared to the people of Relentless Heart Pavilion, the shock in the Su family's heart was extremely hard to express. Especially Su Yukong. Previously, he wanted to make things difficult for Su Yun and suppress his arrogance. But now that he thought about it, his initial thoughts were so foolish and naive. Worthy of being the one who defeated Su Kuang. I'm afraid that if that did not happen, Su Yun would already be an inner sect disciple, right? The whispers of the people beside him drifted into his ears. Su Yukong secretly swallowed his saliva, not daring to make a sound. With this kind of method, he absolutely had the qualifications to enter the inner sect. Moreover, his ranking in the inner sect would not be low. This bastard, he was actually pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. Su Yukong's heart trembled. Suddenly, he thought of a possibility. Young Master Huang Ming wanted to kill him, so why would he save him? He was afraid that young Master Huang Ming's death was related to him. However, young Master Huang Ming's strength was not low. It was impossible for him to kill him easily. Once the two of them met the wolf pack, he would kill young Master Huang Ming. The more Su Yukong thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. However, he had no evidence. If he were to complain, most people would not believe him, and he might even offend Su Yun. This thought could only be hidden in his heart. On the other side, Su Yun and Tu Fenghua had already fought for more than 10 rounds. The surrounding tables and chairs were all crushed by the qi released by the two of them. The boss who was hiding behind the counter watched with his heart bleeding. What made people pay attention was that Su Yun's attacks were fierce, but he always held back. He was not decisive. Every time the sword tip was about to hit Tu Fenghua, the speed would suddenly slow down. Every time, it would give Tu Fenghua a chance to dodge or block, causing the two of them to fight until now. The Su family watched anxiously at the side. The people of Relentless Heart Pavilion had their hearts hanging in their throats, watching nervously. Tu Fenghua was being pressured by Su Yun. The places where the curved blade attacked were all blocked by the sharp sword. Not only that, Su Yun had always been using sword techniques. He did not use any mystical techniques or qi at all. Tu Fenghua's face was filled with anger, her eyes congealed, she stared at the lustrous slender sword for a while, then suddenly released her wild blade qi, smashing towards the ground, her qi exploded like a bomb, the turbulent wild blade qi was like a pair of large hands, pushing everyone away. Su Yun was also forced to retreat. His expression did not change. He took a deep breath. The Fallen Leaves sword technique had a total of 10 forms. This time, he was going to use the 9th form, returning wind sweeping leaves. Enough. Just as Su Yun was about to rush over, Tu Fenghua suddenly shouted angrily. He was startled. He stopped his technique and looked at her in astonishment. Tu Fenghua angrily threw the curved blade in her hand to the ground and shouted, "I've had enough! You bastard, you never intended to fight me properly. You're just using me to practice your techniques. Fuck, you can even see that." Su Yun was shocked. Everyone was surprised. But after listening to Tu Fenghua's words, after thinking about it, it was true. Su Yun obviously had many opportunities to defeat Tu Fenghua, but he did not make a move. Many people thought that Su Yun saw Tu Fenghua's big breasts and lusted after her beauty. Su Yun did not say a word. He glanced at her and kept his sword. "Your strength is above mine. I, Tu Fenghua, am not as good as you. I admit defeat. But don't be too proud. Although you can defeat me, you are definitely not Senior Xing Shi's opponent." Tu Fenghua's anger had not subsided. Su Yun could not be bothered with her. He immediately turned and left. He originally wanted to use these people to test his sword. Now that he had achieved his goal, there was no need to stay any longer. Seeing that Su Yun was about to go upstairs without saying a word, the people from Relentless Heart Pavilion became even more furious. The disciples of the Su family, on the other hand, were extremely satisfied. Su Yun's move had helped them gain face. Previously, they were ridiculed and looked down upon by Relentless Heart Pavilion. Now, it could be considered as revenge. A few of the outer sect disciples looked at Su Yun with eyes full of admiration and respect. Previously, they kept their distance from him without a trace. This brat Su Yun, when did he become so powerful? Even the inner sect disciples of Relentless Heart Pavilion could not do anything to him. So powerful. He's too powerful. I want to follow him in the future. The disciples were all discussing. The faces of the inner sect disciples were ugly. No one expected that the limelight would be snatched away by an outer sect disciple. The atmosphere was a little strange. The commotion in the inn attracted the attention of the passers-by outside. Both parties did not dare to speak at this time. "Hey," I said, "who's that? You left just like that. Aren't you looking down on us, Relentless Heart Pavilion disciples?" Just as Su Yun was preparing to return to his room, a slightly drunk voice broke the strange silence. Su Yun looked towards the direction of the voice, only to see that the door upstairs had suddenly opened, and a burly man staggered out. The burly man's face was red. He was drunk. He grabbed onto the armrest and burped. Then, he pointed at Su Yun and shouted. Su Yun sized him up and said, "You're not in your best condition. I don't want to fight with you." "Not in my best condition?" Zhu Xingshir's hazy eyes suddenly widened like a copper bell. He was like a lion that had just woken up. He was not drunk at all. "You look down on me?" Zhu Xingshir asked. "I should be the one saying that to you, right?" Su Yun said. "If you look down on me, then you should challenge me when you're in your best condition." Hearing that, Zhu Xingshir was instantly enraged. He pushed with both his arms and the sturdy wooden fence immediately broke. He flew down from the second floor and directly waved his iron fists towards Su Yun. "The Su family is so arrogant. Today, I will teach you how to be a man." Zhu Xingshir growled. The strength of his fists was like 1,000 caddies. The whistling wild blade chi was like a knife cutting Su Yun's face. Su Yun's robe and hair fluttered. It was hard for him to stand. This power! It was at least twice as strong as Tu Feng Hua. Su Yun snorted. He kept the 1,000-deep sword and raised his fist to fiercely smash forward. Bang! The two fists collided. The energy exploded and a circle of ripples spread out. The walls of the inn had many cracks. Both parties were in a complete mess. It was very embarrassing. Seeing that, the innkeeper's heart was no longer bleeding. It was as though his heart was being stabbed by a knife. It was as though the broken tables and chairs were being stabbed. With one move, the two of them retreated. Zhu Xingshir felt his arms trembling. His fists were aching. To be able to give him such a feeling, he was at least a 7th-stage spirit intermediate disciple. This brat, he is obviously an outer sect disciple of the Su family. Yet, he has such abilities. He is not simple. Zhu Xingshir's eyes released a golden light. His fighting spirit soared. He wanted to use all of his strength to fight with Su Yun. "Stop!" Just then, a loud voice rang out. Zhu Xingshir looked up. He saw the door to the second floor open with a quang dang. A green figure flew out and landed directly in between the two of them. The figure's movements were free and easy. It was like moving clouds and flowing water. Just this skill alone was enough to make countless people admire him. Everyone focused and saw that it was Su Guanhai. "Captain! Captain Guanhai is awake? That's great! Captain Guanhai is here!" The Su family cheered. Zhu Xingshir frowned. He looked unhappy. Seeing that Su Guanhai was still drunk, he said, "Brother Guanhai, why are you interfering? Hurry up and go back to sleep. Let me fight with this rascal from your Su family." "Fight? Su Guanhai shook his head. Senior Xingshi, tomorrow is the meet for the fish hunt. Why don't you save some energy for tomorrow? What's more, the battle between the two of you has almost destroyed the inn. If the inn is destroyed, both our sects will have to sleep on the street. If news of this spreads, it will affect both our sects' reputations, won't it? Hearing that, Zhu Xingshi hesitated. But after a while, his face twisted and he said angrily, "No way. This rascal is so arrogant. He actually injured so many of my junior brothers. If I don't teach him a lesson today, I won't be able to take it lying down. Rascal! Follow me outside to fight." Su Yun did not say a word. But the fighting intent in his eyes did not diminish. If they were to fight, why would he be afraid of Zhu Xingshi? However, Su Guanhai did not want the two of them to fight. He shook his head and said, "Senior Xingshi, how about you give me some face and let this matter rest? I, Su Guanhai, hereby apologize to your sect." Finished, he respectfully clasped his hands in front. Seeing that, Zhu Xingshi did not want to brush away Su Guanhai's face. He stared at Su Yun for a while. Then, he snorted. He did not say a word and walked away. "Thank you, Senior Xingshi," Su Guanhai quickly said. Su Yun could not be bothered with these people. After informing Su Guanhai, he went up the stairs. The conflict between the two parties ended with Su Guanhai's appearance. Although it started angrily but ended weakly, both parties felt that this was the best solution. From the punch that Su Yun threw at Zhu Xingshi, Su Yun's strength was not below Zhu Xingshi's. If they were to fight, the result would be that both sides would be injured. This would be extremely disadvantageous for tomorrow's meet for the fish hunt. Su Guanhai looked at Su Yun, who was walking towards the room. A trace of suspicion appeared between his brows. But he did not ask. He turned and left. This Su Guanhai, why is he so afraid? If Su Yun wants to fight with Zhu Xingshi, let them fight. Su Yukong spat and scolded in a low voice. I did not expect Su Yun to have such strength. I'm afraid our inner sect disciples are not his match. Sigh. Chapter 110. Su Yun was not afraid of the Relentless Heart Pavilion. Thinking about it, the Relentless Heart Pavilion's power could not even be compared to the Immortal Sword sect, and this was just a group of inner sect disciples. What was there to be afraid of? After exchanging blows with the Relentless Heart Pavilion, he immediately returned to his room to cultivate. After dinner, he quickly walked out of his room and went to Snow Tang City's market to purchase some materials for the next day. He was alone, and did not speak to the Su family disciples who came to curry favor with him, which was weird. Although it was called the fish hunt, in truth, it was just for fame. There were so many people, but they were fighting against an 8th stage spirit soul realm demonic beast. Although an 8th stage spirit soul realm cultivator was enough to wipe out countless of experts from the sects, but with so many heroes gathering, it was making a big fuss out of nothing. But if they were to participate in this operation, it would raise the prestige of their own sect. The benefits were endless. Since there were benefits, why not put on a show? Anyway, they would not be at a disadvantage. To obtain the Heavenly Scale Divine Eye was not an easy task. The Heavenly Scale Fish King was an 8th stage spirit soul realm existence. Such a high-level demon beast was rare. Its entire body was filled with treasures. If any sect or family could obtain any part of its body, it would be a huge advantage. The fish's eye was such an important part. How difficult would it be to obtain it? Su Yun pondered, and a plan formed in his mind. Chaos. With his current cultivation, he could only take advantage of the chaos to obtain the treasures. So, how could he create chaos? If it was just a simple chaos, it would at most confuse the existence of the spirit intermediate disciple. Against a 5th stage spirit core disciple and above, it would not work. He did not know if an almighty spirit soul realm cultivator would appear. If such an existence appeared, the chances of obtaining the Heavenly Scale Divine Eye would be very low. Su Yun pondered and shuttled through the night market. After a round, he bought some items that he could use and returned to the inn. Although it was night, the Relentless Heart Pavilion disciples were still sitting in the front hall, drinking and chatting. The Su family was nowhere to be seen, as though they were too lazy to be in the same room with them. When Su Yun passed by the front hall, all the Relentless Heart Pavilion disciples stopped talking, stopped moving, and stared at him nervously. No one dared to speak loudly, as though they were afraid that this temperamental person would make a move again. Su Yun laughed in his heart, but did not say anything, and went straight to his room. As soon as he entered the room, the noise in the front hall gradually returned. Inside the room, Su Yun took out all the materials he had bought and placed them on the bed. At the same time, he took out a map of the Tai Ching Temple. The area marked on the top right corner of the map was the Tai Ching lakeside. Snow Tang City was only an hour's journey from the Tai Ching lakeside. In between, there was a huge mountain. After going over the mountain, one could see the plains, and right in the middle of the plains was the Tai Ching lakeside. Su Yun looked at the map for about the time it took for an incense stick to burn. After thinking for a long time, he kept the map and began to prepare the materials that he had bought. There were many types of materials, but most of them were not of high quality. Only 2 of them were extremely evil and devilish, and they were quite troublesome. One was the skull of the 9-tooth evil demon beast. The 9-tooth evil demon beast was considered a low-level demon beast in the demonic continent. It had a 4th stage spirit core disciple cultivation, and could be found in many places. However, it rarely appeared in the Sky Martial continent, so it was not easy to find. The head of the 9-toothed demonic beast came from the black market with a market price of 23,000 spirit coins. The other was the heart of the valley demon ape, which was also expensive, costing 19,000 spirit coins. The spirit coins that he had swindled from Su Huiyu previously were all spent. But if he could obtain the heavenly scale divine eye, this money was definitely worth it. The demonic chi of these 2 demonic beasts was too strong. Su Yun could only rely on the Limitless Sword Manual to conceal their chi. Although the Sword Elder was unwilling and said that the demonic chi had seeped into the Limitless Sword Manual, Su Yun could not care so much. He could only let him suffer. Next was to deal with the remaining materials. Looking at the sky, it was already dark. Although the Snow Tang City had temporarily become a city that never sleeps because of the various sects and clans, it was still pitch black in the distance. Taking a deep breath, he started to get busy. Another 2 hours passed. All the materials were finally dealt with. Those that needed to be synthesized were synthesized, those that needed to be processed were processed. In total, there were 7 pitch black balls. When the time comes, it's all up to you guys. Su Yun pinched the ball and looked at it a few times. His lips mumbled, then he kept it in his storage ring. When everything was over, he closed his eyes and sat on the bed to rest. After an unknown period of time, knock knock knock. A light knocking sound came from the door. Su Yun opened his eyes and looked at the door. He was suspicious. Who would be looking for me? Thinking again and again, he got up and walked over. Voila! He opened the door. He saw a man in a green robe standing outside the door. The man's face was indifferent. His expression was like an ancient well. Seeing Su Yun, he nodded lightly. Have you rested? I haven't rested yet. Su Yun did not immediately invite Su Guanhai into the room. Instead, he asked curiously, "It's so late, why is Captain Guanhai here? I want to talk to you for a while." Su Guanhai's face revealed a faint smile. "Is it convenient for me to enter?" Su Yun lowered his head and pondered. After a while, he moved his body aside and Su Guanhai walked in. After entering the house, he looked around and sniffed the air. "What's that smell?" he asked. "The smell of my feet," Su Yun said casually and went to the table to pour a cup of tea. Hearing that, Su Guanhai immediately stopped sniffing. Su Yun passed the tea over. "Thank you." Su Guanhai nodded and took a sip. Su Yun did not drink it. Instead, he walked over and laid on the bed. Using his hands as a pillow, he said, "Captain Guan Hai, if you have something to say, just say it. I want to rest early." After saying that, Su Guan Hai was silent. After about 40 to 50 breaths of time, he said, "Tonight I'm here to ask young Master Su Yun about your talent." Talent? Su Yun was stunned for a while. Then, he laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha, Captain Guan Hai, are you sure? You're asking a piece of trash about talent that people pass on by word of mouth? Ha ha, you're too funny. When did you recover your talent?" Not waiting for Su Yun to finish laughing, Su Guan Hai suddenly asked. Su Yun's heart shrank. He stopped laughing and looked at him. His eyes wavered. He asked in a low voice, "Is this important? I'm just curious." Su Guan Hai said. 2 years ago. Su Yun casually made up a story. But in his heart, he was a little cautious. He seemed to have been noticed by someone. If this continued, it would affect his future actions. It seemed like he had to be more careful. Otherwise, he would be shot at. 2 years ago? Su Guan Hai was stunned. He said, "How did you recover? Do you know how my talent slowly weakened?" "I don't know." "Then why do you want to know how I recovered?" Su Guan Hai was silent. Su Yun's meaning was clear. "If you don't explain your purpose, why should I tell you?" He pulled the blanket over his head and called out, "Captain Guan Hai, if there's nothing else, let's leave. Although we're men, 2 grown men in a room alone in the middle of the night. People will talk behind our backs, won't they? This world is a mess." Su Guan Hai. Su Guan Hai quietly looked at the tea on the table. After a while, he gently moved his lips. "To be honest, my talent has been damaged." Su Yun lifted the blanket and looked at him puzzledly. 7 years ago, because of an accident, my spirit was severely damaged. I was dispirited and listless. I continuously drank the bitter heart flower soup for 81 days before I recovered. Even so, my talent had been damaged by at least 40%. In the past, I could be considered as an outstanding disciple of the Su family. But now, I'm no different from an ordinary person. Su Yun nodded. He understood why Su Guan Hai would come here so late at night. He was a famous trash. His cultivation had not increased for 7 or 8 years. But recently, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. How could he not attract attention? "I understand. But I can't help you. Maybe you can go to Blossom Heart Valley and try." He did not understand Su Guan Hai very well, so he did not dare to say it out loud. Furthermore, the damage to his talent was different from his strange illness. His prescription might not be effective. Su Guan Hai laughed bitterly. "I once went to Blossom Heart Valley to seek treatment, but the injuries that I suffered could only be healed by the Valley Master. Even the Pill King could not cure me, but why would the Valley Master help a small character like me?" Su Yun did not say anything. Su Guan Hai looked at the person on the bed. Without any reluctance, he stood up and cupped his fists. Since young Master Su Yun is powerless, then Su Guan Hai can only take his leave. With that, he was about to leave. "That's right." Suddenly, Su Yun called out, "What? I want to ask." Su Yun thought for a moment and asked, "Which part of the Su family are you from? Why don't I have any impression of you?" In his impression, he had never heard of Su Guan Hai. After all, he had been in the inner sect, but he had never heard of this person. After Su Guan Hai heard this, he was startled. Then, he revealed a gentle smile. "I am a descendant of the Su family. I only returned to the Su family a few years ago. It is natural that young Master Su Yun does not have any impression of me." Oh. Su Yun did not say anything, but the doubts in his heart were still unresolved. Su Guan Hai did not say anything more. He turned around and left. After Su Guan Hai left, Su Yun did not feel sleepy. He was too lazy to think about Su Guan Hai. He sat on the bed and began to circulate his profound spirit qi. Once this mission was completed, he would explore the limitless sword sheath again. After thinking about it, Su-Yun became even more focused. 4 hours later, it was already past midnight. Su-Yun immediately got up and wore a white robe. He carried the death sword on his back and wore the sword sheath properly. He took off the Su family disciple badge from his waist and checked the materials in his storage ring. Then, he rushed out. The disciples of the Relentless Heart Pavilion had just finished drinking and returned to their rooms to sleep. Only the waiter was left to clean up the mess. The damage from the fight during the day was still there. However, the Su family and the Relentless Heart Pavilion had compensated the shopkeeper for his losses. So much so that the shopkeeper was still willing to entertain the guests. Dear guest, it's late at night. Do you still want to go out? The waiter asked, puzzled. But Su-Yun did not say anything and left quickly. After leaving the inn, Su-Yun took the spirit stallion that he bought with the materials at night and ran straight out of the city. Because a large number of sects were stationed here, the Snow Tang city did not close its gates at night. It was extremely convenient to leave the city. Following the map, he rushed all the way. After an hour, he arrived at the plains beside Tai Ching Lake. Gusts of light wind blew over, swirling his robe and hair. Su-Yun stared at the gigantic, mirror-like lake. A trace of sharpness flashed past his eyes. Chapter 111. Tai Ching Lakeside was huge. The opposite side was close to the mountain range, while this side was a plain. There were many rocks around the lakeside, and the soil was soft. Late at night, the moonlight shone on the lake, causing the lake to sparkle. It was gorgeous and beautiful. Just that the lake occasionally had ripples, and it was not peaceful. Su-Yun did not dare to get too close to the lakeside. There was a strong existence living at the bottom of the lakeside, and because of this strong existence, it caused the qi around Tai Ching Lakeside to be extremely dense. Spirit intermediate disciple cultivators would feel uncomfortable if they went near, as though they were about to be torn apart. He stopped at a distance of 1 mile from Tai Ching Lakeside. He took out a map and calculated the distance, then he walked closer. The meet for the fish hunt would be held at noon tomorrow. In the middle of the night, no one would come. With the help of the moonlight, Su-Yun found the predicted location, and took out the 7 smoke bombs that emitted demonic qi from his storage ring. Su-Yun's absolute arts were many and varied, but there were 2 that were the most refined. 1. Medical technique. 2. Demonic mystical technique. Medical techniques originated from Blossom Heart Valley. Most of them were used to cure illnesses and save people. He did not research much into Blossom Heart Valley's poison technique. Initially, he racked his brains to enter Blossom Heart Valley. His motive was to use Blossom Heart Valley's powerful medical techniques to solve the strange phenomenon of his talent diminishing, but to no avail. After that, it was the demonic mystical technique. When he entered the demonic path, Su-Yun mustered up a lot of courage. Because he knew, once he entered the demonic path, he was no longer human, and there was no turning back. Because of this, he thirsted for power, and crazily pursued the power of the demonic sect. But no matter how profound the demonic mystical techniques were, they could not give him any power. Until that prescription appeared, he suddenly felt lucky. If he did not choose to ambush the leader of the immortal path, but chose to bear with it, and use the prescription to cure his illness, maybe he would not have the chance to start all over again. Maybe, after an incense's time, the black beads were all buried in the soil, and a simple demonic mist array was laid out. Great, now I just need to combine the 2 things, and I'm ready. Su-Yun thought, and looked towards Tai Ching Lakeside. The Heavenly Scale Fish King was no match, and would definitely escape into the water. Which also meant that the Heavenly Scale Fish King would eventually die in Tai Ching Lakeside. So, this thing had to be placed at the bottom of the lake. However, at this moment, there was the Heavenly Scale Fish King at the bottom of the lake. If he were to enter the water, wouldn't he be seeking his own death? Furthermore, that dense chi was not something he could contend against, and there was no way he could get close to it. Su Yun thought about it and immediately became vexed. Everything was ready, but they were stuck here. It really made one feel helpless. He looked up at the dark night sky, his eyes filled with complex emotions. Chirp! At this moment, a shooting star streaked across the pitch-black night sky. Su Yun was startled. He anxiously stood up, and an idea flashed past his mind. You can try if you're not allowed. He took a deep breath and looked around. He found a boulder about 1 meter tall and 2 meters in diameter. He ran over, pressed his hands on the boulder, and exerted strength. Crack! The boulder was lifted. Su Yun held his breath and stared at the lake in the distance. He growled and activated his pure divine spirit chi. He ran forward for a few steps and then fiercely threw himself towards the lake. Whoosh! The boulder was pushed by the pure divine spirit chi. Like a meteor streaking across the blue dome of heaven, it flew straight when it neared the lakeside. It started to fall, and finally landed at the edge of the lakeside, about 10 meters away from the lake. Seeing this, Su Yun was overjoyed. This chi was only effective against people, and did not have any resistance against objects. Heaven is really helping me. After holding his breath, he threw the boulder a mile away. If he was a little lighter, he would have thrown it into the lake. He looked left and right, and found a boulder that was smaller than the previous boulder. Then, he pulled out the 1,000-deep sword and dug a hole in the middle of the boulder. After that, he took out the hearts of the 9-teethed demonic beast and valley devil ape. Of course, the two of them were wrapped in the Limitless sword manual. If not, the demonic chi would leak out and attract the attention of the heavenly scale fish king. Rascal, you finally want to take these two things away. This old man is about to be suffocated to death by this demonic chi. The sword elder's voice came out from the sword manual. Hearing this, Su Yun laughed. Senior, this junior has no intention of taking them away. What? You still want me to endure this rotten stench? The sword elder was stunned. Senior, please help me. I will definitely revive the Limitless sword sect. Stop bullshitting, this old man doesn't believe you. You have to take it away. This is impossible. This is the last step. If Senior is willing to help me, I can obtain the heavenly scale divine eye and my power will increase greatly. Su Yun said. The last step? The sword elder did not understand. Su Yun nodded. Senior only needs to stay with them for a short period of time. Just a short period of time? Alright. The sword elder heaved a sigh of relief and agreed. Thank you, Senior. This junior will definitely repay you in the future. Su Yun hurriedly said. With that, he wrapped the two items in the Limitless sword manual and hurriedly stuffed them into the hole in the boulder. After a while, the skull and heart entered the boulder. The Limitless sword manual wrapped them up and resisted the demonic chi. Then, Su Yun took out the 1,000-deep sword and carved a simple array on the surface of the boulder. Then, he dripped a bit of blazing devil blood. When the blazing devil blood and the demonic chi came into contact, it would explode. Although the power was not strong, it was enough to shatter the boulder. At that time, it all depended on this blood. Everything was ready. Su Yun hugged the boulder and started accumulating chi. Hey, that's right. How long is a short period of time? Just then, the sword elder's voice came out from the boulder. The fastest. Tomorrow afternoon. What? The slowest. Depends on how long the heavenly scale fish king can last. With that, Su Yun started running. Damn it! Bastard, you brat, you tricked me! Hurry up and take these things away. Hurry! The sword elder's angry roar came out from the boulder. Senior, I will definitely make it up to you. Su Yun called out. Then, he used all his strength and threw the boulder out. Shio plop. The boulder fell into the lake and created ripples. The next day, in front of the Hao family inn, which had been destroyed beyond recognition, the Su family disciples walked out of the inn and gathered outside. The people from the Relentless Heart Pavilion had left early. It was hard to imagine that this bunch of drunkards would drink so late, yet they could still wake up so early. This made the Su family feel ashamed. Su Guanhai and the inner sect disciples stood at the front of the group. Their gazes swept across the crowd. Su Guanhai's expression was indifferent. He did not have much prestige, but no one dared to act rashly in front of him. Although he lost to Zhu Xingshi, his strength and bearing had convinced everyone present. Even Su Yukong and the other inner sect disciples were more well-behaved. Everyone was present. Su Guanhai paused for a while and then spoke. The various sects in Snow Tang City and Tai Ching Temple have already set off towards Tai Ching Lakeside. We will set off in an incense's time. We will reach our destination at around 9 o'clock. You must remember, when we reach our destination, there will be a gathering of experts. We cannot act rashly and wait patiently. When the experts have lured the heavenly scale fish king out, we will help to kill it. Do not cause trouble, do not make a ruckus. You must honor the Su family. Do not lose the Su family's reputation. Do you understand? Yes. Everyone exclaimed. Good. Su Guanhai nodded. Everyone get ready. We will set off immediately. After an incense's time, the group headed towards the outskirts of Snow Tang City. Along the way, they saw many experts from other sections. It had to be said that the people sent by the Su family this time were rather shabby. The other sects had at least the existence of Spirit Intermediate Disciple. Spirit Core Disciple cultivators could be found everywhere. There were even a few whose cultivation level could not be seen. Their strength was enough to make people tremble. Like the Su family, where there were Spirit Novice disciples mixed in, it was really rare. It seemed like it was their first time fighting with a Spirit Soul Disciple demonic beast. Although the Su family was just here to be bystanders, everyone was extremely excited. After all, when they walked out in the future, they could brag in front of others. I even killed a Spirit Soul Disciple demonic beast. Su Yun still walked at the back of the group. He did not say a word. He did not make a sound. Su Guanhai looked at him. He did not say a word and led the group forward. Along the way, the various sects came into view. Exuding Fire Sect, Stellar Sun Mountain, Smoky Wind Valley, 3 Items Deity Palace, Wangjia Village. Even people from Blossom Heart Valley and Immortal Sword Sect came. It could be said that this fish meet was unprecedentedly grand. Although the Heavenly Scale Fish King was powerful, but looking at it now, it was already a dead fish. Isn't this Master Su? Just at this moment, a voice rang out. The Su family turned their heads to look. Master Su? Everyone here had the surname Su. Who knew who this voice was calling? Only to see a white-haired old man leading a group of men and women in emerald green robes walking over. People from Blossom Heart Valley. Everyone's eyes lit up. Ah, it's Master Guimoju from Blossom Heart Valley. Upon seeing that, Su Yukong immediately got down from his spirit stallion. He rushed over and bowed to Guimoju. My father was ill, and it was Master Guimoju who helped him. I did not expect to meet Master Guimoju here. It's really my fortune. Guimoju looked at Su Yukong strangely and asked, You are? I am Su Yukong? Su Yukong. Guimoju was still confused. He laughed bitterly. I have treated countless people in my life. I really cannot remember the name of the patient. Please forgive me. Su Yukong did not say anything. Su Guanhai did not make a sound. He stared at Guimoju to see who he was looking for. Guimoju hurriedly walked to the back of the group. He ran to the person who was riding on the spirit stallion. He was dressed in white robes. He was still thinking about something with his head lowered. Following the horse, he cupped his fists and bowed. Master Su Yun, Guimoju greets you here. This action made all the Su family's eyes pop out. The great master of Blossom Heart Valley, Guimoju, who was known as the Ghost Hand Miracle Doctor, was actually so polite to an outer sect disciple of the Su family? How was that possible? Even the disciples of Blossom Heart Valley were shocked. Only a few people who had seen Su Yun before were not surprised. A young man who was praised by the Pill King, how could they not admire him? Then, Guillermo Ju's greeting did not receive a reply from that person. He was still thinking about something with his head lowered. It was as if he did not notice the person beside him, Su Yun. Su Guanhai could not help but call out. Su Yun did not understand. He raised his head to look at him, only to see Su Guanhai continuously winking at him. Su Yun was startled. He turned his head to look, only to see an old man with white hair and a white robe, who had the demeanor of an immortal, smiling at him. Su Yun did not react in time. Seeing that the old man looked familiar, he did not think much and asked, "Who are you?" Chapter 112. What freak? Guillermo Ju was already bowing and scraping to talk to you, and you actually don't even know who he is? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The disciples of Blossom Heart Valley looked at Su Yun with an unkind gaze. This person is truly despicable. Guillermo Ju was known as the Ghost Hand Miracle Doctor. In the hearts of the disciples of Blossom Heart Valley, he was an extremely important person. But today, this white-robed young lad riding on a spirit stallion was actually so rude. How could they not be angry? But before the disciples of Blossom Heart Valley could react, that person suddenly slapped his head and said, "Oh, you are that Guillermo Ju?" Blossom Heart Valley disciples, Su family members. Guillermo Ju smiled respectfully and said without anger, "That's me. Oh, I did not expect to meet you here." Su Yun collected his thoughts and said, "Why? Are you all here to participate in this fish meet? How is the Pill King?" "Thanks to young master, the Pill King is fine. As for this fish meet, the Heavenly Scale Fish King has committed many evils and killed many innocent people. My valley could not bear it and sent me and the outstanding disciples of the valley to come and save the dying and heal the injured, to help the commoners who were harmed by the Heavenly Scale Fish King. At the same time, we can also help the heroes to get rid of the main culprit, the Heavenly Scale Fish King." Guillermo Ju laughed. His expression and actions were polite, but did not make people feel inferior. Su Yun was also embarrassed to keep riding on the spirit stallion, so he flipped down and chatted with Guillermo Ju. Seeing Su Yun and Guillermo Ju's good relationship, the Su family was surprised. "I did not expect Su Yun to actually mingle with the people of Blossom Heart Valley," the people at the side muttered. Su Yukong's eyes were filled with anger and jealousy. He stared at Su Yun and snorted, then shifted his gaze away. No wonder Su Yun used to be called trash, but now his cultivation has increased so much. Turns out he received treatment from the people of Blossom Heart Valley. Treatment? Yes, think about it. He used to be an outstanding genius. Why did he suddenly lose his talent? No matter how hard he trained, he could not improve his cultivation? I guess he must have suffered some kind of injury. And in this period of time, his cultivation suddenly increased. I'm afraid the people of Blossom Heart Valley helped him recover from his internal injuries, and his talent recovered. His cultivation increased. It's highly possible. The disciples of the Su family were in a heated discussion. Su Yun's ears moved slightly. He also heard these words. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. His heart also relaxed a little. If it was in the past, it would be troublesome for the Su family to know the people from Blossom Heart Valley. But it was different now. Guillermo Ju's appearance had explained the reason for his improvement in cultivation. He believed that even if this matter were to spread to the main house, no one would suspect anything. At least, no one would pay attention to the existence of the limitless sword arts. While chatting with Guillermo Ju, they unknowingly arrived at Tai Ching Lake. Stepping on the soft soil, a gentle breeze blew over, and bursts of refreshing fragrance filled the air. Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief and looked over. However, he saw that the entire Tai Ching Lake was already crowded with people. A rough calculation, there were at least 3,000 to 4,000 people. People from various sects and clans gathered together in groups of 2s and 3s. The largest number was close to 100, and the smallest number was at least 20. Exuding Fire Sect, Stellar Sun Mountain, Smoky Wind Valley, 3 Items Deity Palace, Wangjia Village, Relentless Heart Pavilion, Blossom Heart Valley, Immortal Sword Sect, big and small, most of the powerhouses from the southern region were present. The scene was bustling with noise and excitement. The only thing lacking was that all the disciples were present. There were not many true experts present. So many people! I never thought that there would be so many tyrants in this meet for the fish hunt. The people from Tai Ching Monastery really have some face. The disciples of the Su family sighed. Everyone's gaze swept across, only to see that right above the vast Tai Ching Lake, there was a gigantic, exquisite pagoda hovering in the air. The pagoda released circle after circle of golden light auras, enveloping the entire lakeside. The thick, profound spirit chi mixed with the wind hit everyone's face. "This is the subduing demon pagoda," Guillermo Ju exclaimed. 3 Items Deity Palace's chief instructor Dian Hong's treasure? Su Yun asked. That's right. Guillermo Ju nodded his head. Dian Hong used the subduing demon pagoda to seal the entire lakeside, to prevent the heavenly scale fish king from escaping. With so many tyrants gathered here, the fish king is already trembling in fear. Why isn't it thinking of escaping? With the suppression of this treasure, the entire Tai Ching Lake is sealed. It won't be easy for the fish king to escape. Why doesn't the Almighty take action directly and kill the fish king? Just then, a disciple of Blossom Heart Valley suddenly asked. Kill? Guillermo Ju shook his head. The heavenly scale fish king is after all an 8th stage spirit soul cultivator. To be honest, other than the few spirit soul cultivators, the others will not be able to hurt it at all. Don't think that there are so many people here. Actually, there aren't many who can fight with the heavenly scale fish king. Dian Hong's treasure is being suppressed, but if you want him to fight with the heavenly scale fish king, I reckon he will most likely be defeated. The fish king is that strong? The disciple was shocked. What do you think? If not, why would a sect like Tai Ching Temple be helpless against it? Why would they have to seek help from the heroes under the heavens? Guillermo Ju shook his head and laughed bitterly. Su Yun did not say anything. When they reached the lakeside, all the sects and clans had to set up their positions and bid farewell to the people of Blossom Heart Valley. Su Yun rode his horse to the back of the group, but the Su family members kept glancing at him, their eyes filled with respect. His strength was unfathomable, and he was treated with respect by Guillermo Ju, the ghost hand miracle doctor of Blossom Heart Valley. Such a person, who would dare to call him trash? But the people only watched for a moment, then shifted their gaze, because in this tranquil Tai Ching Lake, there was suddenly a burst of monstrous waves. Following that, they saw a huge and sturdy body, covered with golden scales, rushing out of the lake, fiercely slapping the subduing demon pagoda that was suspended in the air. Dong! An intense explosion sounded out, and the profound spirit chi rushed out like lightning, hitting the golden chi barrier released by the subduing demon pagoda. The golden chi barrier trembled crazily, and cracks appeared. Looking at the signs, the heavenly scale fish king was about to break out of the barrier. The people who were closer to the lakeside were shocked, and retreated a few steps. The sea of people at the scene was rather chaotic. Dian Hong, who was standing by the lakeside supporting the subduing demon pagoda, was a little pale. He pinched one hand and pointed at the pagoda. His entire body's profound spirit chi was continuously channeled into it, stabilizing the subduing demon pagoda. The experts of Stellar Sun Mountain and Smoky Wind Valley saw this, and immediately took action, helping Dian Hong, channeling profound spirit chi into the subduing demon pagoda, stabilizing the golden barrier and suppressing the heavenly scale fish king. Human! You can't trap me, wait till I kill all of you, kill all of you. Then I'll turn all of you into my food? Ah! The heavenly scale fish king let out an angry roar. The roar rippled like thunder. The ground shook gently, as if the fish king had used some mystical technique, and the ground started to crack. Demon, don't you dare be savage. At this time, a shout came out. A group of people flew over from the top of the mountain from afar. Looking carefully, this group of people were all in light blue Taoist robes, with a Taoist hat on their head. The men and women were all holding onto a horsetail whisk, and on their chest, there was a big Tai Chi pattern. They were the people from Tai Chi Temple. And the person in the lead looked slightly inexperienced, with straight eyebrows, pale skin, and a mole at the corner of his eye. He was about 25 or 26 years old, and he was the current temple master of Tai Chi Temple, Tai Shang Tua. He held onto the horsetail whisk, flew over quickly, and landed by the lakeside. With a wave of the horsetail whisk, he shot a circle of profound spirit chi towards the gigantic golden barrier. The subduing demon pagoda flashed a trace of gold aura, and released its power. The power of the suppression suddenly increased by more than a few times. Tai Shang Tua was a second-stage spirit-soul disciple. Although he was not strong, and could not defeat the heavenly scale fish king, but with so many powerful people helping him, he was not afraid at all. With the help of Tai Shang Tua, the heavenly scale fish king was immediately suppressed, and Dian Hong and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. Very quickly, Tai Ching Lake regained its tranquility. The heavenly scale fish king seemed to have dived into the bottom of the lake, and did not cause any more waves. Seeing that, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. I never thought that this guy would be so strong. He is after all an 8th stage spirit-soul disciple, and we can't compare to him. That attack just now, if it had hit the crowd, who knows how many of our friends would have their souls scattered. Luckily Master Dian Hong had foresight, and temporarily sealed Tai Ching Lake, if not we would have suffered. All the disciples from different sects started discussing. Let's not waste time, let's start now. A clear voice resonated, breaking the buzzing of the crowd. The crowd immediately quietened down. All they could see was a ray of red light flying in the air, floating in the air. Everyone looked up. In the air, a man with red smoke all over his body appeared. This person's aura was powerful, boundless, and domineering. It was extremely shocking, especially his appearance. He wore a thick red armor, had a head full of fiery red hair and sideburns. He had copper bell-sized eyes and a fierce-looking head. He was extremely boorish. Who was this man? Many of the new disciples were puzzled. Tai Shang Tua from Tai Ching Monastery spoke. This is the 7th clan elder from Exuding Fire sect, Hu Rong. His cultivation is high with him. The heavenly scale fish king will definitely be destroyed. Clan elder! All the other sects were stunned. They never thought that the Exuding Fire sect would even invite an elder. The Su family heaved a sigh of relief. Su Guanhai spoke. Since the Exuding Fire sect has even sent an elder, then there's nothing for us to do. When the battle starts, all of you do not have to fight, just assist in the battle. Remember, protect your life first. Yes, sir. The Su family shouted. The other sects also started to make arrangements. Hu Rong, who was at the top, stared at the people below. His voice was like thunder. Fellow cultivators from the other sects, I, Hu Rong, will go down later and drag the fish king out of the water. Everyone will work together to kill it. There's no battle plan. I think with so many people, there's no need for any battle plan. This kind of little bastard will not live long. Now everyone get ready. Hu Rong, I am going down. Clan Elder Hu, please do it. The people below all the sects shouted. With someone standing up for them, why would they not be happy? Hence, all the sects agreed happily. Good. Hu Rong nodded, held his breath, stared at the huge lake below, and then dived down, crashing straight down. When Dian Hong saw this, he immediately removed the subduing demon pagoda. The golden barrier that enveloped Tai Ching Lakeside immediately disappeared. Plop! Hurong was like a red shooting star, directly crashing into Tai Ching Lakeside. In a moment, the calm lake suddenly became turbulent, and layers of huge waves crashed one after another. Everyone took out their weapons, and were ready for battle. Chapter 113. Hurong entered the lake. Everyone was in an uproar. Su Yun and the rest got off their horses and gathered around Su Guanhai. All of their eyes were fixed on the lake. Su Yun took out Thousand Deep Sword, but his gaze did not stay on the lake for long. His eyes would occasionally look at the place where the pearls were buried last night. But looking at the people standing there, it was the people from Stellar Sun Mountain. Hua 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 hua, rays of multicolored light surged from the lakeside. The experts from the various sects displayed their mystical technique. Many of the techniques that could temporarily increase their cultivation were released. The Su family had given the team leader many scrolls that could temporarily increase his cultivation, speed and physical strength. Unfortunately, Su Huangming died halfway, so the Su family could only watch as others obtained these mystical techniques. After a while, all the sects were ready. At this time, the waves on the lake were getting fiercer and fiercer. It was getting more and more intense. Everyone's breathing congealed. Suddenly, voila! The entire lake split open. A gigantic carp rushed out of the lake and directly flew to the side of the shore and fiercely crashed onto the ground. Dong! The entire plain shook thrice. Dust flew everywhere. Gravel flew everywhere. The disciples on the other side were thrown off their horses and retreated pathetically. Everyone looked over and saw that it was a carp with golden scales all over its body. This carp was 100 meters long and had a huge head. Its eyes were like two huge holes, pitch black and deep. It was extremely terrifying. There was a faint golden light around its body. It was like an armor protecting its body. Below its body there was an indistinct white array. With such a throw, it was not damaged at all. The force of impact was completely offset by the array. Heavenly Scale Fish King! Someone shouted. Heh, this Fish King is only SOSO? Hurong, who was flying over, laughed coldly. Everyone present gasped. This Hurong actually threw the Heavenly Scale Fish King out of Tai Ching Lake. You bunch of reckless fools. You dare to barge into my territory and openly provoke me. Watch me tear all of you to shreds. The Heavenly Scale Fish King's mouth that was filled with steel teeth opened and closed, releasing waves of deep and ear-piercing sounds. Following that, its body started to squirm, and on the left and right sides of its body, 2 pairs of hands and feet that were covered with scales appeared. It used its thick and solid hands to support itself on the ground, and its body propped up, and the entire fish actually stood up. Huh! Those who had just entered the spirit intermediate realm had never seen such a ferocious beast before. All of their faces turned pale as they hurriedly retreated. Only the spirit core disciples remained calm as they prepared for battle. As for the Su clan, who had sent a bunch of trash to make up the numbers, how would they dare to face the enemy in the face of such an existence? Retreat! Su Guanhai shouted. The disciples of the Su family hurriedly retreated, and only stopped when they were 400 to 500 meters away from the Heavenly Scale Fish King. Some of the smaller sects also followed Su Guanhai's example and distanced themselves, afraid that they would be affected by the mystical skills of these almighty beings and lose their lives for nothing. Tear us to pieces? Heh, today, I'm going to use you as an appetizer. Hurong roared and charged over. The temple master of Tai Ching Temple didn't show any weakness and went over to provide support. Once the temple master made a move, everyone in the temple charged over as well. Exuding Fire Sect, Stellar Sun Mountain, 3 items Deity Palace, Blossom Heart Valley, almost all the experts from the sects joined the battle to help. The scene instantly turned chaotic, and all sorts of bizarre and dazzling mystical skills were produced. The complicated and messy profound spirit chi in the air was like a big pot of hodgepodge, intertwining and boiling. The heavenly scale fish king continuously used its mystical skills to attack, but no matter which direction it attacked, it would always be blocked. So strong, those people's chi and the heavenly scale fish king's chi blended together, forming a huge chi field. People like us who are weak can't even get close to it. The quick-witted Su Kong retreated a few steps. Looking at the intense battle scene, he widened his eyes and said in shock, "We don't have to take action. We just have to wait. Once the heavenly scale fish king dies, everyone will rush forward and take down the equipment on the heavenly scale fish king's body. Then, our Su family will win." Just then, Su Yukong shouted loudly, "The heavenly scale fish king's cultivation is so high. Every scale on its body is extremely valuable. If we could know one or two of them, we would definitely benefit a lot." That's right, a spirit soul disciple demonic beast is a rare item in the auction house. If we were to exchange it for pills and treasures, I reckon we can exchange it for a lot. The disciples of the Su family all had a golden light in their eyes, their greed rising. Su Guanhai heard it but shook his head continuously. "Everyone, there are so many experts here, and there is only one fish king. How can we have the items on its body? We only need to assist in the battle, and then safely return to the Su family. Don't be greedy for small profits, or else if we were to clash with the other sects, we would be the ones to suffer losses." Su Guanhai's words were the truth. The Su family's only expert, Su Huangming, was dead, and the team had experienced the baptism of the jaded claws wolves. Their power was weak, and at least 80% of the sects here were stronger than the Su family. When the time came to snatch the Fish King's body, there would inevitably be friction. Once there was a conflict, the Su family would not be able to gain any advantage. Although it was the truth, but when it was said, it made the inner sect disciples unhappy. Su Yukong frowned and said, "Captain Guanhai, your power is not bad, but why are you so timid? You want us to watch from the side and not make a move? Don't tell me you wish for us to waste this trip? If that's the case, I won't agree." "That's right, Captain Guanhai, we are small characters, but we don't want to be small characters forever. If we can grasp this opportunity, get some benefits, and exchange it for some treasures and spirit coins, our cultivation will definitely soar," one of the outer sect disciples said. "That's right." Su Kong could not resist the temptation and nodded his head in agreement. Many almighty people are able to have absolute power, not only because of their hard work, but also because they have a lot of opportunities that we don't have. Now that this is an opportunity, if we don't grasp it, don't tell me we have to live like this for the rest of our lives? With good treasures and pills, we can also make a name for ourselves. The Su family clamored. The outer sect hoped to be able to exchange the heavenly scale fish king's body parts for a large amount of spirit coins, to buy good medicines and treasures to increase their power and enter the inner sect, while the inner sect hoped to exchange the fish king's body parts for contribution points to gain the qualifications to enter the main sect. Hearing that, Su Guanhai was silent for a long time and then lightly sighed. "Since that's the case, then I won't say anything more, it's up to you guys." Sigh. "Heh, Captain Guanhai, when we make our move later, you have to cover for us, we won't miss out on your share of the things." Su Yukong snorted, and then carried his weapon, and headed towards the heavenly scale fish king. Seeing that, the Su family followed Su Yukong, and as for Su Guanhai, there were only a few disciples crowding around. The Su family had their differences, but Su Yun turned a deaf ear to them. At that moment all his attention was on the Fish King. The Fish King's power was strong, and it caused the sky and earth to turn upside down, and the ground to shatter. The entire Tai Ching Lake was stirred up by its spells, and the wild wolves overflowed the sky. But the almighty people from the various sects were not just for show. Everyone surrounded and attacked, and actually beat the heavenly scale fish king, an 8th stage spirit soul cultivator, to the point that it could not retaliate. Damn it! The heavenly scale fish king took a few blows, and the scales on its body flipped open. Its flesh was a mess, and its condition was obviously not good. It waved a gigantic stone hammer and forced the people nearby to retreat. Then it turned around and rushed into Tai Ching Lake. Almost there. Seeing that from afar, Su Yun's heart tightened. He carried the 1,000-deep sword and walked over. Huh? Su Yun, do you intend to follow them? Su Guanhai asked suspiciously. But Su Yun did not make a sound, as though he did not hear him, and continued to stare at the heavenly scale fish king. This gaze? Su Guanhai was secretly shocked. Trying to run? Hu Rong sensed the intention of the heavenly scale fish king. He suddenly turned around, and a huge virtual image appeared from his body. The virtual image appeared for less than a second, but in that second it released an immeasurable pressure and actually forced the heavenly scale fish king's huge body to retreat. Dong dong! The heavenly scale fish king was caught off guard, and was directly pressed to the ground by the pressure. The fish belly was flipped open, and its weakness was exposed. Good chance! Everyone was overjoyed and shouted loudly. So, countless tyrannical people from all directions all made their moves, and attacked the heavenly scale fish king. All sorts of killing techniques appeared. What? Su Yun, who was walking towards the heavenly scale fish king, was shocked. The heavenly scale fish king did not successfully enter the water. Could it be that it was going to be killed by these people on the shore? If that was the case, then wouldn't the things in the lake be useless? Su Yun's heart turned cold. If that was the case, then everything would be in vain. No way, I have to think of a way. Ah! Suddenly, an extremely angry roar resonated, and the lake water in Tai Ching Lakeside automatically flew out. The entire lake dried up in a flash, and a large number of fishes and prawns were exposed in the mud, and the lake water, as if it was a living thing, uniformly danced in the air, transforming into a thick and boundless water dragon that was tens of thousands of feet long. The water dragon formed, and immediately swept towards the heavenly scale fish king. Whoosh! The water dragon hit the fish king's broken body, and immediately dispersed, and transformed into a flood, flooding in all directions. Hua 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 hua! In an instant, all the tyrannical people from all the sects were defeated, and they were caught unprepared. The lake water washed away countless people, and the entire scene was in chaos. Miserable screams, angry curses, and roars converged together. Seeing that, Su Yun was shocked, and did not care about the lake water that was rushing towards him, and quickly looked towards the bottom of the lake, only to see the stone that was thrown yesterday, lying quietly in the mud at the bottom of the lake, and did not expose anything. Quickly go! Su Guanhai's face turned white, and turned his head to shout. The Su family hurriedly retreated. Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief, and jumped onto a big stone, and leapt into the air, and then jumped towards the lake. Su Yun, where are you going? Su Guanhai shouted. Captain, the water can't reach there, and wait for the chance to kill the heavenly scale fish king. Su Yun stepped on the big stone that was not submerged, and shouted very quickly. The lake water receded, and most of it flowed back into the lake, but the surrounding sects were already caught unprepared, and were in a mess. And the heavenly scale fish king followed the flow of the water, and returned to the bottom of the lake, and hid inside, and did not come out. Seeing that, Hu Rong and the other almighty people scolded the heavenly scale fish king for being despicable and cunning. Wait for me to drag the heavenly scale fish king out again! Hu Rong shouted, and dived head first into Tai Ching Lakeside. 4 spirit soul disciple cultivators from other sects and Tai Ching temple waited in the air. Hu Rong dived into the lake, and not long later, circles of ripples appeared, followed by huge waves that were hard to calm down. Just then, a large amount of blood flowed out of the lake. Seeing that, a few people's faces turned ugly. The heavenly scale fish king is cunning. It is already at the juncture of life and death, and I'm afraid it will use all its techniques. Let's not continue to wait, everyone, let's rush into the lake, and kill this demon at the bottom of the lake. What do you think? Tai Shang Tua, the master of Tai Ching Temple, shouted. All right. The other experts nodded their heads, and with one leap they crashed into the lake. Plop, 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 plop. The sounds were endless. Su Yun, who was standing by the side of the lake, did not dare to hesitate. He hurriedly dived into the lake. But when he dived into the lake, he saw that Hu Rong, who was extremely strong and had a profound cultivation, had already used both his hands to pull off one of the Heavenly Scale Fish King's arms. It seemed like the Heavenly Scale Fish King did not have long to live. Su Yun's heart trembled, and he gripped the 1,000-deep sword tightly. His body quietly swam and dived towards the falling stone. Chapter 114. Ah! You despicable people! Why do you want to kill me? Why? The Heavenly Scale Fish King let out a painful roar, and used its tail to attack Hu Rong. But in the next moment, another person came close and attacked its body. Bang! The Heavenly Scale Fish King's huge body crashed into the mud, and a large amount of dirty water floated up. Fish King, you have done many evil deeds, and killed many innocent people. You have killed so many innocent people, and you still ask us why we want to kill you? Tai Shang Tua bellowed. Loser! You only dare to be arrogant when you have help. If it was in the past, I would have killed you like a pig or a dog. The Heavenly Scale Fish King roared angrily, his words filled with resentment. You humans can kill us fish and sea creatures, but if we fish kill you humans, we will be killed. Are you a group of evil creatures that call themselves saints? Don't talk nonsense. Tai Shang Tua waved his dust and rushed over. Demons should die. Damn it. Damn it. Good. Then let's see who will die first. The Heavenly Scale Fish King was completely infuriated, and pounced towards the almighty beings. Looking at its imposing manner, it seemed like it wanted to perish together. Seeing that, Su Yun anxiously dove to the stone that he threw the night before. Holding his breath, he crouched beside the stone, his eyes quietly watching the intense battle. Voila! 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 Just then, even more disciples of the sects jumped into the water. They did not join in the battle, but hid at the side, waiting for the almighty beings to finish off the Fish King. They were ready to snatch it. Su Yun stared intently, even in the water, he did not blink. He saw that although the almighty beings were not familiar with each other, their coordination was flawless. Ever since he had entered the Devil's Path, he had seen many powerful existences fighting and killing each other. If one's cultivation had reached an extremely high realm, their own fighting methods would form a school of their own. If they wanted to cooperate with others, they would be neglected by their cultivation methods and mystical skills. However, he did not expect these people to be so easy to use. Very quickly, Su Yun's eyes widened. He saw Tai Shang Tua eating the Fish King's attack, pretending that he was no match, and was slapped into the mud, spitting out blood. Upon seeing that, the Fish King immediately activated his strongest mystical technique, which swept up the entire pugilistic world's water and turned it into a water blade, which was going to mince Tai Shang Tua into dust. But, just as the Fish King's attention was attracted by Tai Shang Tua, Hu Rong and the rest of the almighty beings immediately seized the opportunity, and rushed forward in unison, secretly preparing their killing technique towards the Heavenly Scale Fish King. Now, Su Yun's pupils dilated. His heart had almost contracted to the extreme. He raised 1,000-deep sword, aimed at the stone in front of him, and fiercely slashed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The 1,000-deep sword trembled. The pure divine spirit chi cut off the water, forming a vacuum zone. Clang! The tip of the sword pierced through, the stone shattered, and the 2 demonic organs that were wrapped in the limitless sword art were instantly exposed. As for the blazing devil blood that was sealed by the profound spirit chi on the surface of the stone, after the stone broke, it immediately flowed down. Su Yun did not dare to hesitate at all. He retracted the limitless sword arts and used the sword arts as a barrier to wrap his body. Puchi. Countless mystical techniques that were filled with endless destructive chi pierced through the body of the heavenly scale fish king. The profound spirit chi exploded at an astonishing speed and destroyed the chi channels. The heavenly scale fish king's spirit essences were all shut down and turned into powder. The chi channels collapsed and the spirit nucleus crumbled. Everything became silent. Despicable, human, the heavenly scale fish king shouted weakly, its fish mouth opened wide, its eyes were terrifying, the scales on its body stood up, but after a moment, the scales started to fall off, and it slowly fell to the bottom of the lake, like a palm leaf fan landing on the ground. An 8th stage spirit soul realm cultivator died just like that. In that moment, all the people from the various sects who dived into the lake, their chests rose and fell rapidly, and their eyes were bloodshot. The corpse of an 8th stage spirit soul realm demonic beast. Its blood could be used to form arrays, its heart could be used to concoct pills, its bones could be used to create weapons, its scales could be used to make clothes. It was practically a treasure trove. So, finally, someone recovered from the shock of the Fish King's death, and used all his strength to rush forward like a bullet. With someone taking the lead, how could others fall behind? So, another person rushed forward. So, a third person. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from all directions, countless people rushed towards the Fish King in a frenzy. Some went to pick up the scales that were scattered on the bottom of the lake. Some directly wielded their swords, intending to cut off its flesh and bones. The heavenly scale Fish King's cultivation is not low, everyone has contributed. I will take some of the things that we need, the rest of the things will be handed over to the younger generation. Looking at the disciples of the various sects rushing forward, an almighty being dressed in a purple robe opened his mouth and said. Everyone nodded. I will take the fish heart. Hurong opened his mouth and said. The fish whiskers belong to me. The purple robe said. This time, thank you everyone for your help. To eradicate a huge threat to my sect, I will not take anything. The Tai Ching monastery head cupped his fists and said. The others nodded, did not stand on ceremony, and each took their own things. Just at this time, the last person's gaze was fixed on the two huge pitch-black and incomparably deep fish eyes. This pair of fish eyes is not bad, why don't I take this fish eyes? Have you all decided? That's good. I will now execute the great decomposition technique, and take out the things that everyone needs, the almighty being in the purple robe said, then gently closed his eyes, and started to execute the technique bang. Just at this moment, a violent explosion sounded from behind, following that, a pitch-black smoke like demonic chi exploded out. The cold and ferocious demonic chi was like an extreme cold, freezing the lake water. Smelling this demonic chi, everyone's face changed. Demonic! It's demonic chi! There's a demonic cultivator here! Be careful! There's a demonic cultivator here! Screams and screams exploded out. What? Demonic! The disciples jumped in fright, and the scene immediately became chaotic. The few almighty beings all turned around, and looked towards the direction where the pitch-black smoke was coming from, only to feel that there was an extremely dense demonic chi drifting over, waves after waves of demonic chi rippling out in all directions. Why did the demonic chi suddenly appear? Don't tell me the demonic cultivators have their eyes on the corpse of the heavenly scale Fish King? Tai Shang Tua said suspiciously. Which demonic cultivator is this? If you have the guts, tell me your name. Hurong's temper was bad. He did not care where the demonic cultivator was, and immediately activated his profound spirit chi, and shouted under the water. But no one answered. Hurong was annoyed. The few of them looked at each other, nodded their heads, stared at the direction where the thick smoke was drifting, and rushed over. Bang! 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 Just at this time, there was a series of explosions on the shore. Following that, a large amount of black fog filled half of the plains. They were like dark clouds, floating in the sky above Taichung Lakeside, covering the entire lake surface. Without the light, the bottom of the lake was dark. One could not even see their fingers in front of them. Adding the sudden ripple of demonic chi, it caused countless of disciples to escape from the water surface, panicking. Hurong, Taishang Tua and a few other almighty beings did not hesitate. They surrounded and rushed to the place where the demonic chi was released. Everyone looked carefully, only to see that there was no one there, only two black paste-like things mixed together. They were like sulfuric acid, corroding each other. In the midst of the corrosion, a large amount of demonic chi was released. The demonic power contained in the two objects was separated due to the corrosion, and dispersed with the flow of the water. This is the brain of the 9-teeth evil demon beast and the heart of the demon ape? Tai Shang Tua exclaimed. Everything was fine, why would this suddenly appear here? One of the almighty beings did not understand. Was this the thing that attracted everyone's attention? But why would it appear here? Suddenly, the purple-robed almighty being's face changed and anxiously shouted, "Not good, we fell into a trap." Fell into a trap? Hurong had yet to react. He saw the purple-robed almighty being rushing towards the heavenly scale fish king's corpse like a madman. His speed was extremely fast. In a blink of an eye, he knocked over a few panicking disciples of the stellar sun mountain, and immediately rushed to the side of the fish king's corpse. The purple-robed almighty being waved his hand, and a clear frigid aqua spirit chi rippled out, dispersing the black demonic chi inside and outside the water. The demonic chi dissipated, and the sun shone down, and the bottom of the lake regained its light. Everyone looked up, and with just one look, everyone was stunned. But looking at the gigantic heavenly scale fish king's corpse, it had already been cut open. The fish eyes, fish whiskers and fish heart, these three most important parts had already been dug out. If it was just to retrieve the items, the disciples of the sects all knew that the important parts belonged to the almighty beings who killed the heavenly scale fish king. They did not dare to covet it. For them to have a mouthful of soup to drink was already not bad. But no one would have thought that. Not only did someone want to drink the soup, he even stole the meat. What kind of audacity was that? Who is it? The purple-robed almighty was so angry that he shouted. The deep roar almost caused the surrounding disciples to faint. Hurong rushed over, carrying the dead heavenly scale fish king's corpse on his shoulders, and immediately rushed out of the lake, throwing the fish king's corpse on the ground. Following that, Hurong let out a deep roar. All the sects, clans and powerhouses are not allowed to leave. Quickly gather on the shore. The person who stole the fish king's eyes and heart must be someone from the various sects. We only need to investigate one by one, and we will be able to find that despicable person. With that, the purple-robed almighty immediately agreed. Good! Everyone get on the shore. Accept the investigation. The fish king was killed by everyone's hard work. We will not tolerate anyone to fish in troubled waters. Take away our fruits. With such a powerful existence speaking, no one dared to disobey. After discussing with their own sect members, everyone could only go ashore and gather on the shore. On the shore, everyone used their profound spirit chi to dry their wet clothes, and then surrounded the heavenly scale fish king's corpse. Everyone surrounded it tightly. There were still many materials that could be taken from the fish king's body. The closer they stood, the higher the chances of getting something. The Su family had long dispersed. Only Su Guanhai stood at the back, while the rest of the people squeezed at the front with the other sections. A few almighty beings surrounded the fish king's corpse. Seeing the crazed looks of the people, they were furious. They had long prepared to give the fish king's body to the younger generation, but they never thought that the younger generation would dare to steal their things. When I catch that person, I will take his life. Even his sect will not be able to protect him. The purple-robed Almighty roared in anger. With that, he took out a pure white paper fan from his high-level storage ring and threw it into the air. That despicable thief cut open the Fish King's body and took its heart. That way, other than the few of us, only that person's hand would be tainted with the Fish King's profound spirit chi. This jade light paper fan can analyze everyone's profound spirit chi attribute. Today, let it help me find out who is so daring to steal my things. With that, the paper fan in the air turned and automatically opened. A ray of pure white light poured down and landed on everyone's body. Su Yun, who was standing at the back, saw this and his face turned pale. He hesitated for a while, then suddenly took out the Limitless sword manual and inserted the hand that he used to take the Fish King's heart into the fan. Brat, after stuffing the demon's brain and heart, you also stuffed the demon's eyes and heart. Not only that, you even stuffed your own hand in. This old man has had enough. I'm not done with you. The Sword Elder's angry roar came out in his mind. Senior, I'm sorry. Who asked the Limitless sword manual to be able to conceal chi? Su Yun exclaimed. Next time, I'll give you a few beautiful spirit cultivator dresses to compensate you. Get lost. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.